Message from the Doom fans. Whoops, who left the whips for the coons' hands? I heard they want equity in the broom brands. Royalties from the cotton fields, 40 acres of moonland. Scram, quick before the portal ends. Mind the coral, especially around your dorsal fins. Could be horrible. You can go from adorable to barely mortgable. I'm just warning you of possible injuries. If you want to live long as centipedes, you gotta learn how to make lemonade to lemon trees. Going rates $5 a sip. Pro tip, no rips, only smoke when the Pope's picked. Take the whole trip with the old swole swift ex-dreadlock headlock with both pits. Living off borrowed time, the clock tick faster. MCs in the class observe the slick master. Masked up man kept a handle on the craft like a fondue. A fine blend of words that you love like a mom duke. Verbal diversion for the pocket pick to fund your favorite main chick. Use whip shopping trips. It's carefully constructed, precisely overseen, and then merrily conducted, plus barely interrupted, rarely ever fucked with. Doom, make a Midas out of everything he touches. And that's how the vibe goes. 2 trails of rust running from out of the eye holes. I'm crying like a grown man. I promise to make rappers snatch mics out of their own hands. Exactly how you taught us. We'll take it from here. Look how far you brought us. Doom.
My audio clear?
Yeah, you sound
good.
I
mean, you sound exhausted, but like your audio is clear.
All right, yeah, I'll try to be a bit more animated.
You sound about as clear as Doom does. You sound about as awake as Doom does on his later records.
All right, when it was pairing up with Never.
Yep. For posterity's sake, I will say this is the Living Off Borrowed Time podcast. This is Patrique on RYM, Patrick McGovern, joined as always by Caleb, OptimalAudio on RYM. And we had 2 RYM royalty on our first 2 episodes talking about the great Doom albums. And now for what we're going to call our leftovers episode, we gave you our leftovers with Battered Sphinx.
Yeah, thanks for the incredible introduction. But yeah, that very much sums it up. Yeah, thank you very much.
That, like, if you listen to the first 2 episodes, which obviously you haven't, I give them very opulent intros. And I just give you that intro.
You're just giving me the coupon intro, just throwing it in my face.
More or less. But Sphinx, it's always great to have you on. And you are very good at kind of just listening to like in depth to stuff that maybe people can't have not taken the time to listen to, going more in depth to stuff that people haven't necessarily taken the time to seek out. And I think with Doom's later career, a lot of that's been lost to time because like there's stuff in his later career. Like we're going to start with something that people mostly realize is a classic, I think. And then we get into the stuff that either is completely disregarded or misunderstood, I think. So I'm kind of looking forward to just getting into it and talking about it because there is stuff here I think is of value. There's stuff that's not necessarily of value, but the thing that I've the topic that I've started all these episodes off with our guests is how did you first hear about MF Doom and when did you realize he's one of your favorite rappers?
Right. For me, I was thinking about it, and I think for me the inception point was November Has Come from Gorillaz' album Demon Days. Now that I think about it, released in 2005. I remember when listening to that album, and then after that, I got a bit more into Gorillaz. I checked out the first self-titled album, and that really made me get a bit more into rap in general, honestly. But I don't remember November Has Come sticking with me the first few times I heard it. I remember I loved Del, the Funky Homo Sapien, on those albums, where I knew those verses by heart, and I was obsessed with the music videos and all that sort of stuff. It wasn't until much later where I kept on going back and forth and repeated listens. Well, I was like, November Has Come. What the hell is this guy saying? Even till this day, I'm not sure. But then eventually, when I had, I think I've mentioned to you, Patrick, at least, when I had my phases where I was going through different periods of hip hop, where I had the strictly 90s phase and 80s phase, and then after that, I started exploring things more. That's when I it was probably Madvillainy that I caught first. And that album took me a very long time to get into and love. And then from then on, I just went into Victor Vaughn, Madvillain, and Food and Operation Doomsday and a whole bunch of other albums. And that was just an entire treasure trove of just digging through and understanding what this guy is saying and what he's sampling. And it wasn't too much long after where I was like, okay, this guy's easily my favorite artist of all time. Not only is he, in my opinion, and factually, the best rapper of all time, forever will be. He's also one of the most consistent, despite some of the spotter releases that we might discuss later on. He's definitely one of the most consistent discographies in the genre, if not in music, of all time. Mm-hmm. And yeah, he's very, very special to me personally. So from then on, it's just he's the absolute rap nerds holy grail in terms of you can go as deep as you want with him. And he's a rapper's rapper. There's reason for that. And yeah, that's pretty much where we are here today.
Yeah, to quote one of your favorite rappers, Sphinx, I would say that Doom might be your favorite rapper's favorite rapper. He might not be your favorite trapper's favorite trapper, though. I was quoting Young Jeezy there. But I think it's interesting that you mentioned the Gorillaz song, because I think that was a big part of Doom getting broken out to a larger audience, which was also part of that first album we're going to discuss here, which is The Mouse and the Mask, which I think came off of the heels of Madvillain and Food and all that, which is when Doom really was hitting his stride. And this, I think, was probably when the wave crested. I think most people don't see this on the same level as Food and Madvillain, but I think for a certain part of the audience, this is where they really got on board with Doom. And I think this album is worthy of being in the same discussion. Like, a lot of people, including our guest from last week, like, Nodima said that he loves Aqua Teen Hunger Force, he loves Adult Swim, he loves MF Doom. He didn't really want them together. And that was a criticism of the album at the time. I love the both, and I thought they worked together really well. And listening to it again for this podcast, I still think they do. Mm-hmm. Because I think that Doom's affection for the source material comes across, so it's not a commercial.
Yes. Yep. And that's the thing, because it's very easy with the Mouse and the Mask. It's very easy to throw it off as a gimmick, right? Because it is, some people see it as a sort of a marketing thing. Some people see it as just, it's hitting on something that's modern. But what I think it is, well, first of all, I think this album is right on par with Madvillainy and Victor Vaughn, Madvillain for me. As this is probably his second or third favorite with me. But what I think it is Doom, he is known to weave in references to cartoons, right? But previously it was much older Spider-Man 60s cartoons, or that where the whole Doom Victor Von Doom persona came from. Where he would include clips from that and like Fat Albert, which was a bit predating. It was stuff from his childhood. But on The Mouse and the Mask, it was still within that realm of cartoons, but it was modern. So people I feel like that is probably the main reason why people took it as a silly gimmick, is that most of the people that he has on is characters that are already like still popular on TV. A lot of the voice actors from those shows that are still on, and it was released. It was a whole prepackaged deal with Adult Swim. I think it was Lex Records, not William Street, but
yeah, I don't
it was
think
a level
Street existed as a record label at that point. Like, I don't think you got the William Street comps until like 2007, and this was through Lex. So yeah, correct. Because Lex was Born Like This. So I think Doom had a deal with Lex, and that was part of the reason Born Like This came out when it did, because that was him finishing out his deal with Lex. But that's also kind of me talking out my ass. Anyway, continue.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. But I feel like that's a main reason why people throw this off as a gimmick, is because no longer is it that nostalgic, old era of cartoons that people grew up with. It's referencing current stuff. But to me, I don't know. I thought that is 100% within character. Like it's completely on brand. Like it's just modern instead of old. And like you said, Patrick, the way that he weaves it in with him, Doom and Danger Mouse especially, and the characters and the voice actors and all that, it's like he goes deep in with it. It's not a surface level thing. It's not surface level references here and there just as a, oh yeah, by the way, Aqua Teen Hunger Force and blah, 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 tick off a bunch of boxes. He does full songs about Aqua Teen Hunger Force. He invites, like, they have the voice actors on, they have samples from the show. They weave in the lyrics, like he mixes in lyrics with, even the theme of the show. He does a hilarious pun that I picked up where he says, the song by the theme song of Aqua Teen Hunger Force by Schoolie D, where it says number one in the hood G. Yeah, like for example, Emma says he often wondered should he get the logo tatted to his Woody, he could be number one in the hood G. I don't even know. Like,
shout out to Tom Potter too.
Yeah, that's
no one's going to get that. No one should get that. Continue.
But yeah, the hood, like it's referenced like the clitoris. It gets the logo tatted to his Woody, he would be number one in the hood G, and like it. And he, that's the line from the theme song, and then he's talking about the characters in extreme depth, but still, it's all with Doom's signature style and his. I think the writing here is as sharp as ever, and I think the beats from Danger Mouse are some of the best beats NFDM has gone over.
I don't mean to cut you off. Just talking about the writing, one of the things I talked about in the previous episode was how Doom takes these cartoon frames of reference to talk about other things, and I think the writing is as sharp here because he does that. Like El Chupa Libre, he uses to do like a slide diss on the Monster Island Czars.
Yes.
Then you have Black Debbie, No Names, which is like a comment on race, where he uses the C-Lab thing to kind of talk about race, like racist shit. And then you have he talks about rappers not saying shit on Vats of Urine. He's going to flip you with something you've never heard, Vats of Urine. Yeah. Like he's just doing this really clever shit. Like this is not just him like doing an album where he does his usual Doom thing and occasionally throws in Adult Swim references. He goes all in on this shit. That's why it works. And yes, you're right about the Danger beats. These are probably my favorite Danger Mouse beats. Like Crosshairs is one of my favorite beats ever. I fucking love the Crosshairs beat. The way the little violin stabs come in on that's gorgeous.
Yeah,
it's a great beat. That's one of my favorite on the album, actually.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. And I think like the Adult Swim, like when I listened to this album, I was familiar with one show that was sampled, and that's a 1 second clip of Lewis from Family Guy. The Family Guy was the only show that I was familiar with.
Oh, so you were familiar with the Trash Show. So that's
hey, I'll defend absolutely to the grave. Early Family Guy is still
all right.
solid.
Well, the first 3 seasons of Family Guy are defendable, and then we get into a really thorny area. But
I'll still defend parts of those later shows, but anyway, the Family Guy discussion is for another time. But like Aqua Teen Hunger Force, I knew of, never watched, and C-Lab 2021 or whatever it was, and
you're hurting Ryan's soul, so right?
Yeah, all of these Ryan Core shows.
Ryan Core.
I was
new genre on the website.
Yep, just absolutely nonsensical, but the like late night super weeded out and strung out.
I'm not. Shows. You're not wrong. You're not wrong.
Yeah.
I would say the only real criticism of it is that he didn't have a home movies based song.
Yeah. Oh man, I would have loved that.
Can you imagine him doing something with like a fucking Coach McGurk song on here?
Oh man, Yeah.
Brendan.
I guess,
Starboy song. Like, you do a Starboy song 10 years before The Weeknd.
Yeah.
Got him.
Lost on everyone on 2 different ways.
Yeah. I guess it's not a perfect album. I'll have to drop a stuff.
Now, the only thing I don't like about this album is the CeeLo hook, because I feel like it was like, okay, we did Gnarls Barkley, so CeeLo and Danger have to do something. I think the CeeLo hook isn't very good. That's the one moment I don't like.
Right. That one grew on me, I gotta admit. Mainly because I absolutely love the beat.
The beat's awesome, yeah. Like, yeah, the Benzie Box beat is really cool, but I don't like CeeLo's hook. Mainly because Gnarls grew off of me. And I feel like they only did that because Gnarls was happening at the time, and it felt like kind of like a Gnarls cast-off hook they threw on here. And it felt a little careless, but that was my one complaint. Otherwise, I really feel like this is airtight. How do we feel about the bonus stuff? Because looking at our little handy-dandy spreadsheet that Sphinx put together, we have the Metal Face edition, which I guess we can also talk about. They came out a year later with the Occult Hymn EP, which was, I guess, stuff from the same sessions with a little connective tissue skits. And then 10 years later, there was a deluxe edition, which had, of all things, a Black Thought verse that didn't make the album. But it wouldn't have fit. That's the thing. It's a great verse. And it's the only time you ever heard Thought and Doom on a verse together, on a song together. But it wouldn't have fit. Like, Thought's being super conscious, and it doesn't really fit the theme. Like, you had Ghostface and Quali on there, and they were really good about fitting the theme. I think Thought just kind of did a Black Thought super serious thing that's really, really good. Don't get me wrong. But I don't think it really fits the tone of the album. Yeah,
it wouldn't fit, especially after a song about, urine and another song about...
yeah, you don't really get, like, Black Thought talking about the struggle of the black man after the Midnights are rapping about urine.
Yeah. And exactly. And rapping with Meatwad and Frylock and all of that. Yeah, Brack, yeah. I got to say that thanks for putting me onto that. I didn't even know this song existed until you told me a few weeks ago. I got to say I also love the Madlib remix of Space Hose. But I do not like
turn up later in the episode on another release, but turns up on Madvillainy too.
That's right, it does, yeah. But I don't like the additional skits. They're way too long and obnoxious and really dry.
Oh no, the
I really don't like them either.
I got to say that I love the skits on the main album. That's another thing people complain about it, like, oh, too many skits. I'm like, have you not listened to a Doom album? Have you not listened to Food? The album is insane with the skits. Like,
what's the one where the guy's like, I'm Doom, I can rap like Doom. Give me a beat, Danger Mouse. Give me a beat.
Oh yeah, the guy is the DJ Imperial Master Shake. Yeah.
I love
it. I think that's great because it takes like the Adult Swim stuff and fits it into the Doom framework. It's like perfect. It's like a perfect marriage of the Adult Swim aesthetic with the Doom album framework. I think it's just like people were complaining for a reason to complain. If this is the concept of the album, they pulled it out perfectly.
Exactly.
Well, it's an easy during some of the skits when like that one I was referring to where like the guy's trying to be Doom or whatever, there's like a sad trombone in the background. Like, it's very
rap. Yeah. Hey, I can rap like Doom. Yeah.
Big one. Yeah.
My favorite.
Oh, that was Brack. Yeah.
My favorite lyrics on the album are in Sophia King, where the whole like song is just a bunch of quotables, but at the end when he's like talking about like feds trying to torture him for the recipe and like, oh, I don't speak English, I only do math. His brain was saturated with cocaine and Rogaine. It's a great bar.
I only realized what I was talking about at the end there when I was going through it. The last lines. He's like detailing like a heist or robbery or something.
Mm-hmm.
I love that. Yeah. And once again, like it's a sample from the show that I Am Surfer King, We Todd Ed. But he like ties it in, and his rhyme scheme, like towards the end, his like the rhyme scheme is tying in with the samples, and he does that quite often. Yeah, like when it says, fly man, go for bling, we got bled, I jam up sting, we
fucking, we Todd Ed. Yeah,
like every single line Yeah, 3 card dead and Transcam no thing 3 card dead. Like every single line that this like he's like each syllable is tied in with the show. Like how less gimmicky can it be? You know, it's like it's 100% marriage between the samples, the voice actors, and Doom's rhymes. Like he's going as in as you can.
Clearly, I haven't seen the show because I just botched the title, so my bad. It's so fucking.
Well, you were actually giving a shout out to friend of the show, Sophia, who will be a guest.
Sophia, right, exactly what I was doing. Yeah, that's 3D chess right there. 3D chess. Great song though. Great, love the song.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, and I think Doom is cognizant of the criticisms he's going to get because on El Chupanibre, I didn't get this until recently. He calls out he calls out a name. He says like Boss Lazo, like he calls out Adam Lazo, who's his fucking boss. I didn't get that for a long time. Like call out Boss Lazo to Lasso Hasbro. So when he calls out Deathstroke, like. And then he was actually screwing over Adam Lazo at the time because shout out to Horse from War for all the stories he pulled off Twitter about how Doom was like getting them to pay him to not show up for live DangerDOOM shows.
Oh, right. Yeah. Oh, shit. Then he got deep then, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, he was already like workshopping that even then. So
that's right. Yeah. I can't remember which other song it was, but some of my favorite lines. Honestly,
I might even need to bring up Genius. There are so many quotables on this. Like it's he's just on point the entire time. Like this is
one line that
like that's why I say it's like when the wave crested. Like this is like after this you got pretty much radio silence till Born Like This.
Yeah, it was an interesting period, but I still consider this definitely part of his creative peak. That 03 till 05, it sort of starts off with "Take Me to Your Leader" and ends with this pretty much, which a lot of people after this were still complaining about when's this album coming out, when's this album coming out, which I understand why. It's because he's released such quality material, and you only expect the next stuff to be just as good. But at the same time, it's sort of like, well, how many albums in that very short period of time? And they're so incredible and like so much more to digest.
And real quick, I just want to say that even though it's in the purview of this podcast, we will not be covering VV2 Venomous Villain because we actually have a podcast that covers that with a shout out to Jermainson. We did an episode about that. Which is the first episode where he pissed off the Makami fans. Most of them didn't go back and listen to it, but now here's your opportunity to do so. But we talked about that album at length. If you guys have anything to say about it, we can do so real quick. But I spent 45 minutes talking about it, but I kind of feel like we don't need to rehash that very much. It's just kind of, I don't know. Do you guys have anything to say about the second big album? Just real quick, just to kind of touch on it.
I have not listened to it. No.
In that case, no.
I've only listened to it like once. I thought the beats were kind of boring, so it didn't really leave as much of an impression as it should have. But I didn't think it was bad or anything. I need to give it more of a fair shake. Is probably what I need to do.
It's the thing about it was beats the label forced upon him that he kind of disses on the beats in the songs, so you can tell how Doom felt about it, but he got paid. He says that in the songs too. It was like he didn't care, he got paid. So, but Occult Hymn, just real quick, is that there, I'm trying to think if there's anything on Occult Hymn that's as essential as on Mouse and the Mask.
I do like
Corn Dogs is really good. I think Corn Dogs is fun.
Yeah, I can't remember that. I honestly like a lot of these.
Yeah,
a lot of these I've only listened to a couple times because a lot of the material is actually new to me. I do like El Chupanibre, how it's a remix, but the lyrics are different.
Oh yeah, but he still disses MIC again.
Yeah. He calls them another insult. Yeah, which is it's a bit sad looking back into it, but yeah, it was a.
I mean, he clearly felt a certain way to the point where he was recording a remix and he still felt the need to like shit on them again. So,
yeah, monkeys into crime, midgets into crunk. Yeah, it makes me snicker. even though I do love MF Grimm and maybe one other person, and then the rest I think are almost weird carrier level, honestly. But
we talked about that album in the previous episode where it was the Monster Island Czars album, where it's just like, yep, dude's rapping pretty good.
Yep.
Never need to hear it again. Dudes be rapping.
Dudes be rapping.
Dude, so neither of you have anything to say about Ghostface.
It's a good Ghostface version, for sure.
It's a great marriage.
Yeah, I that's what kind of struck me in re-listening to this again. I was like, damn, I love this fucking Ghostface verse.
Oh, the way he explodes. Good thing I put my mask off. Like, yeah, like he just like bursts into that. It's really cool. Like, he's probably the best feature on there. Like, there aren't many features to compare it to, but he's probably the most like immediately erupting feature.
We are going to have to go at Talib later in the episode, but Talib does his thing on that.
I don't know. Talib is very good there, too. But, like, I think Ghostface stands out. Like, I don't like CeeLo. I think Talib's good. I think Ghostface is great.
Yeah, I agree.
Right. Old School is probably one of my favorites in there. And I think it's a great Talib verse. But the hook really, really kills it. Like, it's really good. Absolutely love it there. But, yeah, Ghostface I also think is... excellent.
Was that the first time they worked together? Because, like, obviously we've had that carrot dangled in front of us forever about the Swift and Changeable album that never is going to happen, or it might still. Like, they might eventually release it at this point, but I think that was the first time they worked together, Doom and Ghost.
Was this album before or after Fish Scale? Because Fish Scale was still just Ghostface.
Fish Scale was 06. This was 05.
Before. This is
right. Yeah, it was.
But I think it was all around the same time. And I think, if I had to guess, they probably did the session and then Doom sent him like all those old beats that he used on Fish Scale.
Right. Because I always assumed it was Ghostface he just randomly checked out Doom and he just loved the beats, used that, and then got in contact with him. But yeah, you're right. Actually, it's the other way around. But yeah, that is probably the first time. And yeah, it's a really cool collab, but and I guess Ghostface did sort of beat him to the punch and with the comic book references. You know, he was Tony Stark's Iron Man before MF Doom.
True, yeah. Like, I mean, well, Doomsday had the comic book skits, but so did Supreme Clientele. And
right, true, yeah. So there is a bit of back
parallel
and forth.
thought, same time period type of thing.
Yeah. And it's and typically like their styles, you know, Doom has a very, very distinct style, and it's hard to sometimes find people that match him. But I thought him and Ghostface really fit, and Ghostface that you know, it's worth detailing a robbery, whereas Ghostface is a bit more in his, you know, cutthroat, you know, realistic-ish sort of pulpy sort of style. While Doom is much more of a cartoony style where, you know, there's reference to Looney Tunes and Hanna-Barbera and things like that. I think it works really well. Amazing instrumental, of course. I think every single beat here is incredible.
I think on a more purely aesthetic level, Doom being like gravelly and monotone versus Ghostface being like all over the place and animated works very well. But on a purely content level, they both are kind of drawing from the same reference place, which works. But so yeah, it's just a shame that album never came out. I just remember being excited for it every year. This is going to be the year. This is going to be the year. I'm like fucking Charlie Brown waiting for the Great Pumpkin to show up, and it never did. But
it was a sort of a J Electronica Detox level of thing.
Well, we got the J Electronica album.
We didn't.
I mean, we got like Father or like Birdman. we got that, but you know.
We got a Jay-Z album with J Electronica. We got
a Jay-Z album featuring J Electronica.
Yep.
How do you guys feel? This is a two-pronged question. Is this the best nerdcore album, and how do you feel about that shitty genre name?
I hate that genre name, and I'm going to disregard your question because I hate that.
It's a really terrible. It was a lose-lose scenario. Yeah.
Yeah. Like, shout out to Jim Jones, great album with Harry Fraud. I call this a lose-lose. Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. Like, I mean, it is probably the nerdiest thing possible. MF Doom doing an Adult Swim album. I see what you're saying though. Like I do get the.
I only said it because it was labeled as a
going to
secondary.
piss me off and get a funny answer. Yes,
it was a secondary. It was a secondary genre on the old page. So
I don't know. I wouldn't be mad if someone called this nerdcore, but to me, it's not. It's just references to cartoons. It's not necessarily nerdy per se. Like when you think nerdcore, the stereotypical is like MC Frontalotto or MC Chris, where it's like Star Wars and all that sort of stuff. Where it's a bit more comedic, but then you go
like that pitched up voice, and I mean, didn't MC Chris do a feature on MC Chris actually guest on Aqua Teen Hunger Force? He was he wanted candy. Like that guy. This is where Ryan will be helpful because Ryan knows all the Aqua Teen references. But
MF Doom did voice a.
But yeah, like nerdcore, I think of as being a specific sort of like. I guess Samus would be nerdcore. Like her literal name is a Metroid reference.
Yeah.
But it's still like even Samus like she
I don't know. Would people be nerdcore? Anime trauma and divorce. And it's all anime references.
Yeah, I think probably a bit more stuff like that where it's not just references to cartoons. Like Samus talks about being an introvert and she specifically talks about being a nerd and having special interests and things like that. Where even
Milo, and Doom's not doing that here. Like Doom's kind of integrating it into his general, just usual But it's not like I said, he's not just like kind of making obligatory references, he's threading it into it. But I don't think it's nerdcore either. Like, I really hate that genre name. But yeah.
To me, it's only slightly more nerdy than like Food or Operation Doomsday. I mean, those have comic book references, cartoon references, comic book cartoon samples, and things like that. I mean, Wu-Tang Clan makes a lot of pop culture references. So,
that's perfect. It's like Wu-Tang is not like Kung Fu core. Like, are you gonna make that a genre name? Like,
but even like Das Effects. I mean, they make tons of references to.
Is Action Bronson Food core? Like,
Is Rick Ross wings core?
Nah, he's grunt core.
He's grunt core.
Oh.
Rick Ross is pear core.
Yeah, he reformed. He's pearcore now. Shout out to all the pear. But I don't know. I don't think it's as nerdy as it. Like, yes, it's nerdy by its nature, but I don't think it's quote unquote. Or I think it's more accessible but it's also not like paid content either. Like, it's something that Doom enjoys, that he's rapping about, and I think it works on several levels. That's why I think it's more. It's not It's not dependent on enjoying these cartoons. I don't think. Like, I think that's a lot of the criticism is like you have to like these shows to like these songs. I don't think that's the case.
Exactly. Yeah, because like I said, I didn't knew Family Guy before. I love this album, and now I watched a bit of Aqua Teen Hunger Force. I watched. Actually, I think that's about it. I haven't caught some feature references, but other than that, still, I've only watched like half a show. In addition to that, still absolutely love this album because it's all integrated incredibly well. The skits don't overstay the welcome, and when they are long, they're tied in directly with the album, and they're doing something funny, whether it is they're trying to imitate Doom or Meatwad is rapping a verse from Beef Rap. Yeah, and then what's his name? Carl is interrupting him.
Speedwagon, like the guitar.
Yeah.
Oh, the Oreo Speedwagon
stuff that like white people like.
The Oreo Speedwagon was so funny. That made me laugh out loud on re-listen. That little skit at the end.
Yeah, exactly, and it's just well integrated. I don't think you have to be a fan to like this. Like I said, I think it's very easy to dismiss. Like, it's an easy thing to type up in your review. You already got it typed up before you even have to like finish listening to the album as a criticism. But yeah, I think it's done incredibly well. Much better, like, especially when you talk about the mid 2000s and skits and how much a plague of that was with rap albums. This is some of the best skitting, if that's a word, skittage on an album. Like, this is exactly how you do it.
Yeah, primo skid, bro. Primo skiddage. But yeah. No, like, I agree with you though. It's like Doom has always been good about making, like, that's the print. Like, we were talking about how on the Diction episode, how Doom and Prince Paul didn't really work together that much, but the Prince Paul influence is strong in Doom in terms of making skits work in the overall context of an album. And I think that's probably never been more strongly felt than here. Although it, like, Ghidorah, like, yeah, like Ghidorah, he makes the whole longer collages a bigger part of the album statement. And Food gets a lot of shit for the long piece. And I think Food's the biggest offender because no one really listens to those 4 minutes of skits. Let's be honest.
Yeah, people are lying when they say, no, I don't mind these, I love them.
I mean,
they're smack dab in the middle. Four skit tracks out there.
Like, they're all in a row. They're all in a row. You don't really listen to that more than once. Come on. But
yeah,
but
that's such incredible verses.
Wonderful album, top 5 Doom. I wouldn't put it ahead of the 3 we discussed. Well, honestly, I put it ahead of Doomsday. I listened to this way more than Doomsday.
Same. Yep.
Caleb, how do you stand on it?
I think it's a great album. It's my favorite post Madvillain Doom, I think. I'm trying to think of the time frame, but yeah, I think that checks out. Yeah, I mean, this is I agree with what one of you said. It was like some of his most accessible material, despite the source material. And I definitely agree. Like, I think the beats on here, this is my favorite, like, Danger Mouse shit. I'm not, like, a huge fan of Danger Mouse overall, you know, with his, like, rock production and stuff. But I thought he really did excellent work on this album. And Doom is charismatic. He's funny. He's smooth. It's really all facets of Doom on the record. I think it's a great record. I think it holds up well. The skits are funny, especially like what Sphinx was just referring to of the plague and hip-hop of bad skits. I really love Crosshairs. I love that fucking beat. I know Patrick said that. Space Hose is great. Old School is really great. I really like to live on that. Like, you know, Sofa King and The Mask, like we referenced earlier, those are like probably my 2 favorite songs on the project. Just the way, like, every line is like a quotable, like on both of those songs is something that I say about Doom. I feel like I'm a broken record. I've talked about that with Doom a lot in these episodes, but it really is kind of I don't always absorb everything he says. But then when I go back to a song months later, I'm like, oh shit, he means that. Like, you know, it's that sort of the beauty
rewarding.
of it. Yeah, and that's the beauty of hip hop, you know, and Doom epitomizes that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think what it is also like Doom style, like the way he raps. It's especially around this era. It's like really particular, and like his delivery is always like, you know, I think I mentioned this a million times already, but like he fits it like very neatly within the bars, but he still has like a conversational cadence where he's not forceful, so it can really throw you off, like with what he's saying, until you go back. But yeah, one of my favorite quotables, real recognize real on the microphone, or wheels are mechanized still. I always love saying that line. It's so good. That's all I gotta say.
That's kind of like comes from Doom. Just like, I think that's why this album works so well, is like, this is a dude who grew up watching so much television, and that influenced the way he makes beats, the way he raps. So of course he's making an album about watching television and digesting it back at you. Of course he would rap it really well. And so that's why he's so good at just relating these characters. And I don't know, one of the things that I've been a broken record about is this interview Doom did. I think it was with Spin, I don't know, where he talks about, like, everybody raps about, like, you know, shooting, everybody's a killer. Why don't you rap about going swimming? Like, if you're whack if you don't go swimming. So that's why you have Bats of Urine. Like, he's like, everybody raps about like, everybody raps about pistols, gas is boring. I got a new topic to flip you, Bats of Urine. And then he raps for a minute about, like, and then, you know who rapped about Bats of Urine? Ghostface on Fish Scale on Be Easy. He pissed in your crystal.
Yeah.
Rocky. Just saying.
Yeah.
Just saying.
Right.
But
there you go.
but yeah, so Doom did that, and then came out with that, and then he went real silent for a long time. He had a live album that we're not going to talk about because none of us listened to it. But 2008 came out, and allegedly Madlib made this for his own benefit on a flight to Tokyo. I don't believe that, but that's how Peanut Butter Wolf sold it. It was and they sold it as Madvillainy 2, the Madlib remix, because Peanut Butter Wolf is an asshole. He wants to tell people Madvillainy 2. This is still a really good album. I think it's still a really good album, but the way they sold it was kind of dishonest.
Yeah, calling it a sequel.
Yeah,
it's almost a sequel from Madlib and not a sequel from Doom, because it's mostly the same lyrics, the same rhymes, like the exact same takes, even not necessarily alternative takes.
I mean, there's some stuff here that's from the Madvillain demo, to be fair. Like, there's some stuff here to try and make it seem different, and then you have a Monkey Suite and one other thing that's different. But yeah, it's Madvillainy 2.
Yep.
It's just
Butter King Jules, I believe. Butter King Jules is Air, isn't it?
Yeah, it's Air. So we have Air, we have Monkey Suite, and Space Ho Remix.
Yep.
So 3 things are different.
I gotta say, I gotta listen to this again, because I really liked the new beats, but I have a thing against remixes in general, where I tend to be a little bit dismissive of them. And I was so familiar with Madvillainy, as soon as a beat hits, I'm already reciting the lyrics in my head, sort of thing. Or as soon as I hear the lyrics, I'm already hearing the beats in my head, like it was such a one-to-one thing in my head. So it was hard for me listening to this and getting used to the different beats. But the main thing I realized about this album is also it's much less melodic than Madvillainy. It's much more beat driven and much more just sample based. And if there is a remix, an instrumental version of this, I think that on its own would stand off as like a really good Madlib project, because it is quite indulgent. There is some skits and instrumentals in between, which Madvillain had it too, but I felt like this one probably had a little bit more. So I think this whole project as instrumental, I think that would be a pretty dope Madlib project in of itself. But yeah, I got to listen to this more, because to be honest, most of the time I was listening to it, I was like, I wish I was just listening to Madvillainy instead. Not that there was anything necessarily bad, but yeah, it didn't hit me quite as much. But I did love Monkey Suite or Monkey Suite. I was familiar with before, because I believe it was released as a single with a slightly different remix, but same beat, but remixed slightly differently. Absolutely love that song. That's one of his best. And by this time, Air, I've heard it remixed and sampled with so many different beats that I almost know that song by heart. But it is incredible 2 verses from MF Doom on that. But yeah, overall, I gotta check this out a little bit more. I gotta let this sit with me, because I probably because of the whole Madvillainy 2 thing, I was a bit salty about checking it out. I was like, oh, that's desperate marketing on their part. I'm not gonna bother checking this out. But I believe it had quite a mixed reception, didn't it? When it came out, I think Pitchfork gave it a 5.9 out of 10. Madvillainy the night before.
Yeah, it was marketed dishonestly. The thing about it is, I see this as more of a piece of what Madlib was doing at the time. He also did the remix of the Percy P album he did, the Perseverance remix, where it seemed like he was in a lot of headspace where he was just doing very left field remixes of his own material. And I think that he just kind of wanted to do this for himself. And then Stone's Throw was like, we're not getting Madvillainy 2. but we could sell a lot of records if we call this Madvillainy too.
Yeah.
So they did this a disservice by calling it something other than what it was.
That's true. Yeah, that does sort of hurt it. Like is evident by me being late to it and not checking it out. It was because of that.
Yeah, I think it's cool. It's definitely more of a Madlib project than a Doom project. You're right. Like, it's more Madlib messing with the source material, and then I feel like Stone's threw on Monkey Suit. I don't know how you pronounce it. It's spelled sweet, but I mean, it's a play on words.
It is.
That's definitely like that was. I don't know if that was ever intended for. I mean, you can spitball forever about what Madvillainy 2 is supposed to be. I don't ever know if it was ever fully formed. Like that.
There's always every now and then a tweet saying, "Oh yeah, it is complete. We're just waiting on Doom. We're just waiting on Doom."
Yeah, detox is coming. Big things are coming.
Yeah. And I think it is kind of funny because you got Doom and Madlib. Doom, who after his creative peak was super scattered with his releases, where Madlib is incredibly prolific and continue to be. Maybe slowed down a bit more recently, but especially during this period of the late 2000s, early 2010s, he was super prolific. He was releasing so much stuff. This was just like, it's almost like he was itching just to, he's like, come on, Doom, I'm waiting for you, and I already got pretty much an entire new set of instrumentals ready. So yeah, it probably was a label thing. They're like, all right, screw it. He's going to take way too long. Just put this together and release it as Madvillainy 2 and call it a day.
Mm-hmm. I mean,
what about you, Caleb?
I mean, the first half of this, I really, really, really like. Pearls, Borrowed Time, Space Hose, Coast to Coast. Those are probably my favorites on the whole project. I mean, it's really just beautiful, gorgeous instrumentals, man. Like, you just listen to those and have nothing else and be happy. Like, that's one thing that struck me because I hadn't heard the full thing. I had heard like very small bits and pieces previously, but I only heard the full thing like in the last couple days, and I enjoyed it. I don't love it, but it's very enjoyable. It's a pretty seamless listen. There are good transitions on it. The interludes make sense. The little instrumental bits make sense. Yeah, I mean, I just overall, like I said, I would describe this as like a nostalgic record. Nostalgic for maybe something that could never have happened, kind of like what you guys were saying.
Right.
Maybe,
yeah.
Maybe should have happened, but didn't. Maybe shouldn't have happened. There's no way to know. But
I mean, I'm kind of the opinion that Madvillainy was a once-in-a-lifetime thing, and there's a whole thing in our culture where it's like we want sequels, and rap is big on this, where it's like we need to have a sequel to this. Like, we need Cuban Links 3. We need, like, why? Why do we need Space Jam 2? Like, it's not just rap. It's like, why do we need sequels to shit? Like, just let shit be, dude. Like,
it is so strange because to me, when someone releases something amazing, I'm the complete opposite. I'm like, I don't want them to release anything else because the bar has been set high. And if they are, then they better put like both ass cheeks into it. If they're
that is the best expression I've heard in a long time. If you're going to do it, put those ass cheeks in.
Yeah, like you have to go in, which is when I say an awesome movie or listen to an awesome album, I'm like, I just want to put this on and get lost into it. The last thing I want to think is, when's the next one coming out? Because like let's admit, how many times do sequels live up to it? They're the exception, not the rule. When they live up to the original.
Yeah, like there was a gag, I don't know if it was on The Simpsons or The Critic, where they were like redoing old movies and they did either Citizen Kane or Casablanca, and it was like the end ? Where it's like, who needs this shit? Like, who needs a teaser for a sequel? I don't need Madvillainy 2.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
I don't. But one thing that people did want more of was Trunks after his verse on Lockjaw, which is one of the best minute verses anyone's ever heard. And I don't know if this was fan released. It's on Bootlegs, unauthorized, on RYM. It's called Unicron, and it's Trunks over mostly Doom beats that I don't recognize. It's like a 6-track EP. It was homework for this, and it's pretty, like, it's not the best thing I've ever heard or anything, but I wanted to hear more of Trunks rapping, and I liked it.
Yeah, yeah, this is the first time I listened to it. I thought it was pretty good. I gotta admit, I wasn't that familiar with him at all. I didn't even know he was Canadian. And I did like his, like, going back to Take Me to Your Leader, I did like his verse, but it wasn't one of the better ones on Lockjaw.
Really? You didn't think Lockjaw was one of the better verses on there?
It was sort of in the middle. There were some verses that I thought was completely forgettable. I thought his verse was decent, but overall, I really like that song. but to me, next to Doom and next to MF Grimm and next to Star the Empress and next to who else was with him? Like, that was the upper echelon.
Well, you forget who else is with him because you didn't remember them, but you remember Trunks. So that's something Trunks done.
I don't remember what Godzilla creature and whatever.
Or Mothra,
but I do remember the Dragon Ball Z. Yeah, I do remember the Dragon Ball Z reference. I thought this was pretty good. It's some fairly standard but solid rag hardcore rap. Nothing abstract or nearly as eccentric as MF Doom himself. And there was some.
Yeah, they didn't spend 5 minutes rapping about being in a puddle, so you didn't like it.
No, what do you mean? MF Doom is abstract. I'm not. You don't have to drag me.
Damn.
But even something like
I had to get one Anacon diss in here. I had to get one.
No. You love taking those cheap shots. but even like that's what I always find weird about Doom is that a lot of the people, which will get
no, he's not. He is, but he isn't though. Like, he is, but he's like abstract. Like, I spend too much time watching television versus like, I don't know. Like, I just talked myself into a corner, didn't I?
Well, I mean, even something like
justify it.
Even something like, nah, you don't have to feel bad about it. Even something like Meat Grinder. But even something like Meat Grinder, like, it's incredibly coded.
It's just like self-conscious gibberish, though. Like, that's the thing. It's like, that's why Doom is the greatest of all, is that he can just do self-conscious, like, subtlest midget, and that's dope as fuck. What does that mean?
Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, so I thought it was, yeah, a couple of classic, like, metal finger beats. Some decent bars that I picked up. Like, it says, if I stood by your side, they call me next to nothing. Like, things like that. Like, fairly clever.
That was the best. Yeah, that was cool.
Yeah.
What I think that it's kind of like, we talked about the Monster Island Czars album on the previous episode, and we were all just like, yeah, dude's rapping. And it's kind of like, that's this distilled. It's just one dude rapping. It's one dude rapping really well. So I kind of got the same vibe off this that I did off of, like, the Godfather Don EP, or maybe like Earl Slide Tendency stuff, or maybe even the early EP, where it's just like a dude rapping for the sake of rapping. Like, yeah. It's in a vacuum. It's like rapping in a vacuum. It's good.
Yeah.
And you're getting Doom rap. The thing about it is, we're getting to the point where Doom's just giving the same old beats to everybody. So hearing a dude rap well over Doom beats you haven't heard, and I'm clearly way more fond of Lockjaw than you are. I'm kind of gobsmacked you don't think Lockjaw is one of the best verses on Take Me to Your Leader, because that's like, okay, but I kind of thought that would be your thing.
I'm with Patrick on that. I fucking love that song.
Right. Maybe I have to recheck it and go a bit more in depth. But yeah, with me is whenever I hear someone over Doom or hear someone with Doom, I'm like a high school crush or something. I tend to gravitate heavily towards Doom, and I still pay attention to the other people there, but maybe not as equally as I should. I'll go back and dig through that verse. But yeah, to me. You know, we're not talking about the album, but to me, Star the Empress's verse is one of the best on Next Levels, I think it was.
Oh yeah, no, she's great, and Star will show up on the next album we talk. She shows up on Still Dope on the next album we're going to talk about. Can we move? I guess we can move on to one like this. So Doom was quiet for a while, and then no one cared about Unicron. I only heard about it recently, so that was not really a thing. And Madvillainy 2 was something Stone's Throw dropped, so that was not really a Doom thing. So Born Like This was the first official Doom album since DangerDOOM. And a lot of people were expecting the Ghostface collab, which has never happened. And this came out, and it had a lot of old shit on it, and people were disappointed. I think this album is very good, but I understand why people are disappointed.
That's right. Yeah, I did sort of forget that because it came out 2009, but some of the tracks, I think they back to like 2005.
At least, yeah. Like Angels is 2005. Like that was why the Ghostface. Like that's why I said the Ghostface thing, because although they do edit Angels a little bit, they take out the Charlie Murphy reference. I think that they didn't want to get sued, but
right. Yeah. Initially when this came out, I remember liking it, but barely listened to it. But this was still when, still going further and further in depth with his, 2003, 2005 material. So I wasn't really giving this that much of its time. But yeah, it is really good. It is really, really good. I'll say just right off the bat, it's a bit interesting that there is a bit less samples, like you always found, like as in like vocal samples from movies and all that sort of stuff. And it seems like, I don't know who it is. I don't know if it is Mr. Chop, whoever that is, but they have like someone do skits, like just like record skits, and they put that in here and there. And I wasn't honestly a huge fan of that, especially on first listens, and then still not really. This is probably an album that could, even though it's not long, it's only 40 minutes long, it could use some trimming here and there, just to tighten up the songs, even though some of them are not that sharp. But there is still some amazing tracks here, for me, namely Gazillionaire, and That's That, which That's That has very more recently become like a classic MF Doom song, and couple of verses there, but yeah, those songs, like that is still Doom, showing that like he's still at his peak and he still has more to say, and in terms of content and in terms of rap skill. Even tracks like Absolutely, we're seeing some really interesting stuff there, and he's got some really cool sort of extended loose metaphors on Absolutely and Rap Ambush. Absolutely it's kind of like about a drug kidnapping and something. Rap Ambush there's like a lot of war references there, and then Lightworks is almost like him inviting you to the ring to fight with. Angels we've discussed previously, and Cells, which is about, I think it's about like prison cells, and staying away from crime.
Super interesting. I want to cut you off because Cells is like the skeleton key to this album for me, because I think Cells is Doom like settling into his late career mode. And he's talked about how the Charles Bukowski reference is like the key to his mindset on this album. And I think that, like you have like the whole extended Bukowski sound clip that leads into it, like Born Like This, Born Into This, gives the album its title. And I think this is where Doom is getting he's always been a bitter guy, like clearly, like the industry fucked him over. His brother died and he became a villain, and then he became successful. But did that bring him happiness? I think this album's your answer.
Right. That's an interesting take. I haven't really seen it as much as that, but it is one of his albums where like, it really does help with repeated listens, because like a lot of this stuff that I mentioned, I didn't really pick up until I went through it. I thought initially a lot of it was just rhyming for the sake of not really.
More like literally, there's a track called "More Rhyming," which is great, but he's literally just like kind of going off the top of his head on it. Like
he is, which I can see why. I can see why this album might not have hit with people, because it is not on surface, it's not extremely thematically consistent. Like you can pick up like the main themes, like King Ghidorah, the whole Godzilla thing, and it fits the music fits it. Mouse and the Mask, the whole Adult Swim thing is that's the Adult Swim album. That's the King Ghidorah album. That's the Victor Vaughn. That's like the futuristic album, and Food. That's a food album sort of thing. With this one, yeah, like until you said what you said, an initial listen, you can't really pin a immediate thematic link with it. But to me, even if you weren't aware of those things that you mentioned, I still think that some awesome verses on this album. To me, the beats is probably what holds it back. I think the production was probably handled almost sort of 50-50 between Doom and Jake One, and seems to be the second most, and a couple of J Dilla and Madlib beat.
Yeah, I think that the production is kind of scattershot on this. That's what kind of gave it its reputation, is that it feels thrown together, because you have like the Jake One stuff, the Donuts Borrowed stuff, you have Madlib on Absolutely. Like, it feels like it was assembled a little bit piecemeal, as opposed to more like assembled by Doom himself, like something like Food, or Madlib obviously did Madvillainy himself. Like, it feels like maybe the label put this together to get something out by Doom, and Doom threw some verses together at the last minute, I think was the feeling. But I think when you listen to the verses themselves, like, Doom actually had a thematic thread in mind.
Yeah, and especially not knowing that context of being stripped away from that context of the time and going back to it, I think that helps much more with enjoying it. Like you said, it big part of it was the fact that a lot of these were Lucy's either released or leaked into cyberspace or whatever it was at the time. And yeah, it is. I can see how someone would have been pissed off during the time. But yeah, it's still great writing and mostly good beats here and there, so I can't really complain about that much. But that's that's one song where like I would have thought that people would have hated, just in terms of how intense like the rhyming is, in terms of like the multisyllabic and internal rhyme ways, rhyming like almost every single word in a song like that. Even on More Rhyming is doing the same thing there. But yeah, so I'm really happy that the song, especially that has gone on to be like, if you go on YouTube and stuff, it's like one of his more popular songs. And even someone like that, like if you read on to what he's saying, like he's making some fairly like pretty cool and pretty interesting observations. Like he's talking about like the military, Cornishan switching positions, auditioning morticians, saw it in a vision, ignoring prison, ignoramuses enlist and sound dumb, found them drowned in cows dung, crowns flung. Like it's almost like an anti-joining the military bars, and it's just those few bars, and then goes on to talk about a whole bunch of other stuff, and
kind of like a sequel to Strange Ways a little bit.
Oh yeah, almost in some ways, yeah. But it's still like it. Once again, it's not rhyming for the sake of riddling. Like, it's a perfect balance of content, meaningful content, and pure skill that he uses to deliver, which I think is when rap is at its best. And even Gazillionaire, which is almost like a welcome back sort of track from Doom, it's just absolutely amazing. Like it just goes in, and it's like, he hasn't even like missed a step. But yeah, I don't know. Do you guys want to get into the white elephant?
Yeah, Batty Boys. All right, what do you think about Batty Boys?
I probably have mentioned this with you guys before. To me, when it comes to content, like I do not care. Like I can completely separate art from artist and all that sort of stuff. And on a pure content level, and on a pure skill level and song crafting and all that, I do really like that song. Like some lines I just so like I don't know it. If this was sort of a diss track or whatever, I think this is like a incredibly cutthroat diss track. I don't know. I do really like it, and I do really like the beat.
I mean, I hate the beat. Yeah. On some level, I like the beat because it's a clever flip of the Batman sample. And he's using the Batman sample to be the villain dissing a hero. So that's cool. And then it's like he's dissing whack rappers as if they're Batman. So that's cool. But on another level, it's like, yeah, he's being really homophobic.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, he is. But honestly, if you listen to especially later Doom, he was part of like this sort of like really obscure esoteric sort of offshoot religion thing, and later on in his career he starts saying like a lot of like very I don't know how to put it nicely, like alternative sort of views, not just on sexuality, but also like medicine and a whole bunch of strange stuff. I'm like, what the hell is he talking about? Then I look into it, the whole Nubian nation sort of thing, which has its own series of horrible controversies, child stuff, abuse stuff. But yeah, it's that there's a lot of interesting and strange views that he had and developed more later on in his career. Yeah, it is sort of a cheap shot. It is childish. In some ways, childish as Doom typically is. In other ways, with people's sensitivities changing and whatnot, that's probably not the best look looking back onto it. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, what about you?
I can see it kind of in the way that Doom is always, like, I keep talking about how he's able to couch these things in like layers of references to talk about other stuff. So that cuts both ways, and that he's able to do something like this, and you can say it's just the character. So that's clever. But if it cuts both ways, is he really saying that shit about gay people? In which case, that's really not fucking cool.
Right. Yeah. I also don't like the beat at all.
Yeah, the beat's really fucking annoying. I don't like that beat.
I didn't even know that it was a...
yeah, it's the Batman theme song. That's what he's flipping. Okay. It's kind of like he used to do the Scooby-Doo theme. Like, that's just like, that's Doom doing, like, metal fingers, like, flipping old, like, cartoon theme songs. That's him, like, that's the old Batman theme.
Right. Okay, I didn't even know that. I was not even...
So that's, like, another level of the joke, too. He's using the old Batman theme to diss on Batman for being gay.
Right, yeah, it's making fun of people for wearing tights and all that sort of stuff, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay,
it's like if Doom was making fun of Batman for being like a fascist character, yeah, but no, that's not what he's doing.
Wait, Batman's a fascist? This millionaire who dresses up and beats up poor people's a fascist?
No way, dude, no way.
It makes some solid games. I was playing Arkham.
Yes, shout out to Arkham Asylum, open world games.
Batman as a not to divert. Batman as a hero, though, I always hero is a wrong word, but you know what I mean. As characterized as a superhero, I always found like fascinating. I always like had an interest in Batman, but yeah, just the actual
the origin story of Batman is weird in that they give him this like legitimate reason. It's like, okay, well, his parents were killed. Mm-hmm. So that's like his rationale. So everything he does is okay because he watched his parents die, right?
Yeah, and it's almost sort of like
although I would argue that in a lot of like the Alan Moore comics, it was not like everything he does is okay. It was more like Batman and the Joker are really almost the same person.
Yeah, two sides of the same coin sort of thing.
Unfortunately, I think that nuance got lost in the big screen adaptation.
What do you mean? You don't think Zack Snyder is actually a hidden genius with all the Jesus allegories that smack you right in the face? And
hey, man.
Just wait next week until we do our deep dive into Sucker Punch.
Oh Jesus! I've seen so many videos on that, but not the actual movie. And
You've watched video essays about a movie?
I have multiple. Not even ashamed, multiple.
Well, you should be.
My question is like, why watch the video essay if you haven't seen the movie to like analyze, cross-analyze basically?
I prefer to do neither.
I've done that for heaps of movies. Honestly, most quote unquote bad movies I've seen. I've seen reviews of rather than seeing the full movie, because it's interesting seeing how people break down failures. And me not having been, I don't have to be involved in that failure.
I mean, that's why I listen to this whole new podcast I'm into about Desperate Acts of Capitalism. Like, I like listening to why this shit fails without having to actually have bought it or been a part of it.
Exactly. Yeah, it's like a post-mortem autopsy. It's fascinating,
And that's why I will never watch a Zack Snyder movie, because I don't need this shit in my life. But I understand what you're saying. But yeah, so Batty Boys is like a really technically good rap song that you can argue either way on. And yeah, you can really argue either way on it, I guess. Like, I think that's a testament to Doom as a writer, but like, I don't want, like, just, I guess for my view of him as a man, I don't really want to, like, as a person, which we don't want to go too far into like the art versus artist discussion here, I guess.
Yeah.
But like, I don't want to, like, honestly, personally, real quick, I don't want to think he was that big of a homophobe that he just devoted like 3 minutes to being like gay people are that bad. I think he was just doing a clever thing about Batman's gay, I'm a villain. Like, that's kind of where I want to leave it, personally. Yeah. But maybe he felt that differently. I don't know. But
yeah, I've seen in RIM a whole bunch of back and forth on that. But honestly, I think your take is perfectly fine. And yeah, just sort of leave it at that. That sort of works for me. I completely get it. I would say, like, I wouldn't be surprised if he held those views at the time or later on or whatever. But personally, I can sort of divorce those things. I know people probably think that's morally reprehensible in a way, but yeah, it is what it is.
I mean, it's more interesting to me to just dissect something like Cells, where I think that's probably some of the most personal stuff he's done. Like, you always see Doom going with these low culture references, and then he breaks out something like Bukowski, which gives the title of the album, and then he has like the crime gives no benefit, no medical, no dental, unless you get retirement, county, state, or federal.
Yep. I was about to. Yeah, I love that
fucking
line.
Dope line, dude.
I love that line.
That beat too is like such a, like, that's a Doom beat, but it feels like doomier in a way. Like, when I mean doomier, I mean like more like foreboding, not just like doomier, like doomlay. Like, I mean more like just like, it just feels like apocalyptic. Like, it feels yeah. It's
that yeah. I really like that beat too, but I gotta say that I'm very mixed on Doom's production in general, not just on this album, but just like as himself as a producer. I think like
he can be lazy. He can be lazy. Like,
his strengths, I think, are in crate digging. Like, he finds some awesome samples to loop and loops, and has a good ear for looping them. His drums though could be super default preset sounding.
You and Diction are like the handshake emoji right now with these
really?
drum talk.
But he's right though, because I feel like the drums aren't really important to Doom so much as it is the reference point.
Yeah, no, I'm with you for the record. That has bothered me. That has bothered me in going through some of the like lesser stuff in the Doom discography, I'll say. And
the later you get in his career, it's more obvious.
I mean, honestly, probably a bit of a mild, warm take, but I really like King Ghidorah, but other than some of the Monkeys in Crime verses, I think some of the beats there, some of Doom's beats there were like awesome sample, awesome flip of the sample, but then the drums come in and it sounds like he hasn't done anything extra to them. There's no like missing a little bit of body, a little bit of bass.
Yeah. There's no punch to it. Is what you're
there's
saying.
no punch to it, and they're very clicky clacky. Like you can almost hear his fingers tapping on the MPC.
I
Where it's
guess
like
I
hard
understand
cuts.
your criticism there, but the cheapness almost adds to it for me, and that it's like this is so ramshackle. It's put together by somebody who's just doing this with what they're given, and these are just from such just like cheap source materials that I don't mind it. I guess
It's an aesthetic.
Yeah, it's an aesthetic choice. I choose to see it as an aesthetic choice, even if it was just born out of laziness. It works for me on the overall end product. So that's how I choose to see it, even if you're probably right in that he was just being lazy and didn't do shit to the drums.
Well, that's the other weird thing, though, is that some beats I thought were Doom beats, and I check in it because I'm like, oh, I'm not a fan of these drums, and I check in it, and it's one of the Jake 1 beats. So even some of the Jake 1 beats I thought were a little bit weak, like serviceable. I won't say bad necessarily, because I still overall really like this album, but I thought they were generally the beats were good to serviceable, where they sort of just did the job. They didn't get in the way of MF Doom or whoever the guests' verses were. They let them shine, and they were just sort of sitting there, just chilling in the background. So, I don't think there's any bad moments in this album, but it's just some decent moments that the great moments make the decent moments look just that little bit worse.
I mean, I think that Doom's rapping is what carries the album, not the instrumentals. And I think Madlib on Absolutely by far has the best beat, and Gazillionaire is like a second. And
the beat switch is awesome.
Yeah. The Donuts beats are really not like. I honestly don't think anyone should ever rap over Donuts for like. I mean, if you're going to, he does as good a job as anybody. And there's this guy Black Sun who did one mixtape over Donut stuff that's really good. But for the most part, I don't think anyone really should rap over Donut stuff.
Except for One for Ghost. Take Me Across the Lap. She's with me with the strap when I was bad. But I think he named the song One for Ghost because
I think that he actually made that. Like, I think that actually might predate like Donuts, like as a whole concept.
Oh, is it?
I don't know. Okay. I don't know that for a fact, but like
my understanding was he called it One for Ghost because he actually intended Ghostface to rap over.
Yeah, I think that was like intended for Ghost, and also High was on Fish Scale too. So. Right. We should do a Fish Scale episode at some point. I love that album. But
yep. But so, I really like Fireworks.
Any specific thoughts on this, or?
I mean, overall, I would say going back, turning the Ghostface with Angels. You know, we know what that is. Like, that's probably my favorite song on here. I think what you guys said, Gazillionaire was the best beat, or one of the best beats, because I would agree.
I mean, I think Absolutely is the best beat. I would say Gazillionaire is the best beat, but
yeah, it's a push. I can see that. I think it's a good album. I listened to bits and pieces of it the other day in preparation. I had heard it a long time ago previously, but it's a good album. I don't really reach for it. We talked about the bad track already, so we don't need to get into that. I do. One of my favorite comments in the comment box, someone says Ghostface sounds like an absolute boomer on his verse, which is very funny. No, overall, honestly,
I would say Ghostface is definitely a boomer. I would say Ghostface is 100% a boomer.
Real quick, what do you guys? Sorry, I'll let you finish.
One of my favorite things about the album is actually the album cover. I love the album cover.
It's a good album cover. Yeah, I like it.
Good album cover. I really like I don't know what it is about it, but I enjoy it. But a good album overall. I listen to, if I'm going to listen to a Doom album after like Food, Madvillainy, all that stuff, I'm going to listen to Mouse and the Mask. I'm not really going to listen to this, but it's got better songs on it than I remembered, which is a discredit to me. So I'll have to see if my rating increases, because I have it at a good rating, but I don't know if it's a great album.
Yeah, so some of the songs are still incredible, but overall it is inconsistent. I was going to mention Supervillains real quick. I know that's that's sort of a posse cut. Doesn't feature Doom, which is a bit annoying, but which has Slug and
I think the fucking
Curious
hook
and
on that is hilarious. The hook on that is hilarious.
Okay, I was gonna ask about the hook. I used to hate it, but now going back, I do like it. I do really like that song.
Also, really good
verses are decent, but
really good slug verse.
Yeah. The flows are a bit better than the actual lyrics on pretty much everyone's verses, but I do like that song.
And Princess Star is really good on here too. Like she gets another chance.
Oh, still dope. Oh, God, that's such a good song. Such a good, like, how many bars is that? I think that pretty much like the entire 2 minutes and 40 seconds. It's non-stop rapping. The beat switches and she switches her flows with the beat. Yeah, incredible, actually.
Yeah, like I think Doom's very good about giving people shots. We called this episode Leftovers, and we didn't even talk about the Leftovers EP, which I don't think has any exclusive except for one, which is Hot Guacamole with Paul Barman. Are you guys familiar with this song?
I have not listened to this.
Oh my God!
I completely forgot about Leftovers in that Leftovers episode. I completely forgot about this.
First of all, it has a hilarious cover where Doom is just holding up a thing of ground beef, like it's leftovers.
I love how he wears his glasses over his mask. It's like, what do you mean? The mask that's my face. And
it has a track that I think is the only time Doom has gone over a Prince Paul beat since Gasface. And it's him and Paul Barman. It's a track called Hot Guacamole, which he didn't even know it was called that because they asked him about it in an interview, and he's like, "Yeah, I don't know the Paul song. Wait, who named that?" And it's him and Paul Barman doing like 4-bar pass, and it's Doom like talking to Paul like, "Pass me your wallet, I'll send help." It's so fucking funny. It's so good.
Oh, okay. And
y'all need to listen to Hot Guacamole. It's a great song.
Right, yeah, desperately need to listen to that. I just realized All Out Ale is on here, which is also...
Oh, yeah, All Out Ale.
I love that song. That beat
is that another Jake One beat, right?
No, it's this guy called...
There's a Jake One remix of that, though, I believe.
Right, yeah. I have no idea who the hell the Prof is. Or I don't know, actually, was it... Some places say it was a Doom beat. I'm not... I'm not actually. No, it was the Prof. Man, one of my favorite Doom lines ever. It's on that. 1 for the money, 2 for the Betty Green, 3 for methylene dioxide, methamphetamine. Love that so much.
Oh, you've quoted that like twice on the show at this point.
I have.
I saw you quote that in the comment box too.
Dude, like 1, 2, 3, 4, and then he tells him, 3, 4. The
methamphetamine.
Yeah, MDMA. Like that is such a Doom thing. That's such a nerdy thing that like can come off as super corny, but because it's Doom, it just works so well.
Yeah, it's not thing that only he could pull off.
Yeah, yep. I love that so much. Yeah, but that song All That Ale is badass. The beat is like this mechanical sort of beast thing. I love it. It's just so mechanical, and that's when like some of the clicky clacky stuff works really well. Absolutely love it. Yeah. But yeah, so I'll check out the Barman track really badly now.
Yeah, it's only like a minute and a half. You definitely I'm a bigger Paul Barman supporter than most. My wife hates Paul Barman more than any other rapper I've ever played for her.
That is not surprising at all.
Yeah, he's an acquired taste. Most people have yet to acquire him. But shout out to Celestephone, friend of the show, who was produced for Paul Barman and had him on his album. But yeah, so Doom again went quiet for a few years after Born Like This, and then came back in 2012 with Gennaro Jarrell and Key to the Kuffs. The reason he went quiet, though, was because our shithead fucking government, which also deported Slick Rick, decided it would also be a good idea to deport MF Doom because we're great. We're a great country. And yeah, we sent MF Doom to London. And so the villain was banished, and he wrote a song about it. And he also, this album got even more of a tepid reaction than Born Like This. But I think it's a more
first of all, production-wise, it does a lot more. Like, the complaint about, I think, Born Like This was the production felt stale. Like, I think we all agree that it felt a little patchwork when we were talking about it, that it was a few different producers. You were saying the drums didn't. This is definitely Doom getting back into that mode he was with Madlib, with Danger, where it's him and one producer and getting into their zone, for better and for worse. And I don't think people liked what Gennaro was offering here, because it's so different for Doom. And when I was re-listening to this, certain stuff on here, especially Banished and Wash Your Hands, is so different for Doom.
Yeah,
Wash Your Hands very present over the last year or so, right?
Oh yeah, that song is as relevant as ever.
I mean, the dude's like, also, he made a living out of wearing a mask. He really was trying to tell us something, right?
Ahead of the time, open your third eye, guys.
Exactly. And it's over a EDM trap beat, not even like a regular trap beat. It's like an EDM trap beat, which is on paper that is such a horrible idea, but when does the album come out? 2012. That's like the most 2012 thing. EDM trap beat.
Than Mr. I will say it sounds way better than Mr. Nice Watch.
Yeah.
That's lost on us, thanks, but I think Caleb knows what I'm talking about.
I know exactly what you're talking about. I mean, that's arguably a extremely low bar.
That's J. Cole. I was thinking of Gold Watch.
No, God
different.
Damn it! Once again.
Wait, which did you mean?
No, we had this discussion on last time. Gold Watch is not an annoying beat.
Okay. No, I love Gold Watch. Okay, Mr. Nice
Watch. Sphinx is pro Gold Watch. Sphinx is pro Gold Watch.
I'm team pro Gold Watch. Yep. No, Mr. Nice
Watch. I'm team back and forth on Gold Watch. I'm
team anti Mr. Nice Watch. Like that's a terrible song.
That's a really bad song. It's also a unique.
The best thing about Mr. Nice Watch is that J. Cole was going around saying, "Yeah, I didn't think I was going to have a Jay-Z verse," and then I was about to send him my album, and then like 10 minutes before, Jay-Z sent me this verse, and it's like, yeah, it sounds like it.
Yeah, that's not a brag.
Jay-Z was like, "Fuck, I have to promote my artist. God damn it."
I think I mentioned this to you, Caleb, but my interest in J. Cole, because I was really interested in when he was first coming out in 2010, 2011, but my interest dropped. Like I dropped everything. Is when he had the song where he got an incredible Kingdom Hearts sample, flipped it, and then had really good verses. But then he said, "Boy, I make you feel like you the shit, but boy, you can't out fart me." And I was like, dude, oh my god!
What do you mean? That's GOAT. That's the GOAT right there.
If I knew that was a foreshadowing for all the other shit stain pun lines.
Quite literal shit stain. Like there were a lot of like he was trying to out shit Lil Wayne quite literally.
Yeah,
lines referencing poop. I think that my interest in J. Cole got lost when he did one of those Truly Yours EPs that I heard were so hot, and then he did like some Hot 16 about like hot bars and whatever, and he ended up with J. Cole, I'm the little engine that could, and I'm like, you just tried to rap at me about how tough you are, and you ended it with a children's book punchline.
It's true. It's true.
But yeah, J. Cole is the rap Andrew Bynum.
Yeah, which was really relevant to what we were talking about earlier. Rap Andrew Bynum. I have to now look.
He has no clue what we mean, by the way.
Sphinx is like, what are American sports? I have to.
He's like, what are
it's a sports reference too. Hell no.
You know what the sports are in his own country.
Miss me with that. Yeah.
Yeah, J. Cole might actually be. I mean, Andrew Bynum at least had. Let me see if he had. Andrew Bynum at least had like 3 solid seasons. J.
Cole had one good mixtape?
Does J. Cole have 3? Do you see have 3 good mixtapes?
He has one pretty good mixtape, I guess. I'll give him. Lights Please is pretty good till he starts rapping.
Yeah, I'll give him Warm Up, and I'll give him one of the Truly Yours. I don't remember them, but
he has Miss America is a good song.
What's Lost Ones? Lost Ones I thought was really good. I'm
making the Larry David face on you right now.
Oh no. that song is good. I really like that.
At least
really
you're not
good
going to argue for the fucking off D's or whatever he did with JID. Everybody's like,
I love that. I love that. I love that.
Fucking a lot verse. A lot verse is the one that everybody fucking argues for. I hate that fucking verse. Pray for Takashi. Everyone thinks he was going to rot. Like, yeah.
Well, that line really didn't age well.
Yep. Still out there, you know. Still out there, you know, praying he rots. Actually.
Praying. I love that song. I like I said, I like the
A Lot
verse.
is an incredible song that did not need him on, and that's what makes me mad. Is like that would have been such a perfect fucking intro for that album.
You don't really need J. Cole on anything, but that's a whole other conversation.
I love that this somehow MF Doom episode became us shitting on J. Cole.
Yeah, come on. The man passed away. It can't be disrespecting him like this.
Yeah, J. Cole's dead, RIP. But
yeah, that's totally what I meant.
No, but it's
Andrew Bynum's career is dead.
Andrew Bynum's career is definitely dead. And Andrew Bynum and J. Cole, it's a great parallel that you just pulled out of thin air, Pat. I'm actually really impressed that you just threw that together because it's pretty accurate.
I kept that in my pocket from our pre-show discussion.
Yeah.
But yeah, so JJDOOM is an album that got a lot of shit and I think deserves a reappraisal, even though not every track is great. Like it's probably his most ambitious album overall in terms of production, in terms of features, I would not make every choice he made on this album, but I think that it's admirable that he made those choices.
Yeah, it was interesting because when this first came out, I listened to it, was very, very lukewarm on it. Even on big singles big considering them like Governor, I did not like that song, like especially the beat. I mean, my main issue with this album was the beats initially, and then I listened to it a couple weeks ago, and I still had sort of the same feelings where I was like, the rapping is good, the beats are good, but if this was a beat tape, I would have liked it. And if the raps were over other beats, I would have liked that better. And I felt like that didn't gel. But just like the last few days, I re-listened to this and I was like, no, a lot of this works really well. Like a lot of these, like most of these tracks hit then miss, honestly. Like even Governor, like that one grew on me. And it's such a weird stuff. Before this, I was a little bit familiar with Jarrell more by name than his music. I think before this, I might have listened to Willie Is, which is his collaboration with Cujo from Goody Mob, and
who shows up here on Skill Caps,
yeah, which he shows up here, and then I might have listened to maybe a little bit of one of his instrumental projects or something.
Yeah, Three-Piece Puzzle was the one that was pretty popular.
Right. How familiar were you guys with Gennaro? Just going into that a little bit first.
I knew Three-Piece Puzzle. That was about it. Retroactively, I've become pretty familiar with him. Shout out to Germ. He's been really helpful in putting a lot of the older Gennaro stuff up on ROIM. And shout out to Gennaro, too. He is another guy who's encountered a lot of difficulty in his life. I don't know. He's had a lot of health problems lately. He had a GoFundMe up. He recently put out a project. I don't know how successful he's been in overcoming his health problems. But he's put out something recently that was a genre shift. It's pretty good. It was like trance, I believe, or techno, something like that. It's still pretty good. But you can tell from this that he was kind of already shifting from just hip hop stuff, because his early stuff, the Dr. Who Dat stuff and the Willie Id stuff, was a lot more like fly low, brain feedery. And this is already like he's experimenting with different BPMs. He's going out of his wheelhouse. And I think that was what Doom was trying to do with this, was like Doom felt out of place. You can tell from his rapping, and he was kind of looking for a background that felt unsettled, I think.
Yeah,
That's
and I think
what I get out of this.
And one thing I found recently, and when I was going through Genius annotations, apparently that there's sort of a general theme of lack of freedom, whether it's like corporate, political, or social. Like Bite the Thong is about sacrificing your integrity to make money, and then Boring Convo, Wash Your Hands, about social constructs, and
GMO.
A little bit,
like I don't
GMO
really agree with everything it's saying about like science of it or whatever, but GMO is about like government control of what you're eating. It's again lack of control, like you're being controlled by other forces. Yes,
which goes into one key to the Kuffs, and to the whole London deportation thing. So yeah, it is quite interesting. The beats they're really strange. Some of them, but yeah, more sometimes I was like, nah, it does actually kind of work. Like even Governor, when I first heard that, I remember I was like, oh man, just the opening lines like catch a throatful from the via vocal with ash and molten glass like I have Jai Joe Cool. The volcano out of Iceland, he'll conquer and destroy the rap world like the white man. I was like, jeez, like swinging out the gate. And like, yeah, only Doom can mention I have Jai Joe Cool in a rap, and make it clever and badass.
One thing, I didn't mean to cut you off, but one thing that you brought to my attention, I don't know if this was on the show or not, was that on Banished, I kept mentioning that Doom doesn't always rhyme the same way. I was like, well, Banished, he goes over this like super unconventional beat, and you're like, he's rapping the same way over it. And you're right. He uses the same cadence over Banished, like the same stops he uses always on Banished, but it's a completely different beat. And I think that's interesting that he takes these beats that are so unconventional and he's able to rap the same sort of Doom cadence over them.
Yeah, it is. It is really interesting. And I think what you just mentioned might be why, with a lot of other people and also me initially, where it is because it is still Doom for the most part rapping in the same way that he has been before, but the beats are much more skippy and skittery and all over the place. That initially it might not seem to work, but I think there's definitely much more hits than misses on this. Like even what we mentioned before, Wash Your Hands, which is like an EDM trap beat, works really well because there's like enough space in the beats of the song to allow you to pay attention to what Doom is saying. And of course, amazing beats like Winter Blues and
Winter Blues is an incredible song, by the way, because I don't think Doom has ever really spoken about his depression at length like that before either. Like he's alluded to it, like keep guessing, it gets deeper than depression. I think that line is from Born Like This, and he actually elaborates on that for an entire song. Like he's talking about melanin, like it's one of his song length digressions about a single topic, and there's the skit that kind of elaborates upon that. And so it's just interesting to hear him, like, he used to talk about why Batman's gay, and now he's talking about his depression. It seems like,
time is, time is interesting how that happens, like when you kind of progress into.
Well, I guess when the government decides you can't live in your fucking country anymore, it kind of prioritizes you a little bit, right?
Yeah, I'm not going to really be interested in talking about Batman, whether he's gay or not. So, I have more pressing things to concern myself with.
Yeah, I mean that Joel Schumacher movie was really stupid, but
yeah.
Yep. But yeah, that's interesting because when I heard that track, I thought it was sort of a blackness. Then I thought it's like almost sort of about longing for like I thought it was like it's about relationship or about love or something. Like I thought melanin and melanin, like I thought it was like referring to like a black, like him being black and him with like a black woman or something. So like
then you have
black
the
and
line
black
that
skin
the
content.
skit talks about, or the found sound thing talks about, where it's like black or white, we all have melanin, where he's like talking about all of us have this inside of us.
Yeah, I looked up.
So I think it's more about a universal feeling of depression, whether or not he's talking about his own blackness. I think the song speaks to a universal sentiment of depression. At least that's how I choose to take.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, because I actually transcribed what that woman is saying. I think Dr. Jewel Pookrum, which is I think she's sort of like an alternative medicine doctor, and who used to talk about melanin a lot, and like all these like interesting theories around it and all that sort of stuff. So yeah, it is definitely much deeper on surface, and like that beat is it's still generic Jarrell, but it's so different from the rest, and works just incredibly, like with the strings coming in and everything. So yeah, JJ, if anything, he's incredibly versatile on this album in his entire career. What'd you think, Caleb? Overall?
I mean, I don't have that much to say about it, only because it didn't leave too much of an impression on me, and I didn't go back and listen to it prior to the episode. That was a omission on my part, but I do find it interesting that, in terms of sounds, I feel like this is an album where Doom is playing with a lot of different sounds that he hadn't explored previously in his career. You know, like you mentioned the EDM kind of trap style beats. I would also say there's like a kind of like a glitch hop sort of feel, maybe to parts of this, and it once again kind of like 2012. There's like a wonky feel as well. Which is another uniquely like early 2010s thing in my book, and how rap albums were, some of them anyway, were kind of exploring that new sound as well. So to hear Doom over beats that sounded honestly nothing like previous Doom beats, I think is interesting. My only problem is that I haven't heard this album in I would say at least a few years, so I can't comment on how I think it's aged or whatnot, but I do think it's interesting.
Yeah, I do think it is age producing, and honestly, like you, if it wasn't for this episode, I probably, because I had to bump my rating up for this one. But if it wasn't for this episode, having to re-listen, I probably would have just not gone back to it, because I remember not enjoying it that much. Like you said, it was not necessarily a product of its time, but it is have some of those elements that didn't stick with me. Like, there was about 5 or 6 other albums from them that I would go to previous to this. But that being said, revisiting it, that there is still like a lot of songs that I would come running away with on this. And even JJ himself raps on track Dog Friendly, and I think he actually does pretty good. And I thought the beat was good there too. Retired Friend I thought was also really good, although I think later on the Tom York remix I think is incredible.
Oh yeah, I just wanted to touch on real quick the version you can get on Spotify now. I believe it's called the Butter version. Has all the remixes on. Yeah, it has all the remixes on the end. There's a really good Dave Sitek remix of
yes.
Yeah, Cockney, Rhyme and Slang is really good. And the Tom York remix of Ableist Slang Friend is very good too. Ableist Slur Friend. Yeah, it's I think honestly, if you put some of those remixes into the original sequence, you could make an album that would be more appealing to people, because I feel like that would be maybe temper their expectations a bit. I don't know. Like that they're getting weirder, because I feel like you come into this just expecting a Doom album, you're going to be thrown off.
Yeah, that's the thing. I remember a big complaint when this came out back in 2012 was that there's not enough Doom, which I think is that's kind of on brand with Doom. I mean, like a lot of Doom projects, he sort of is a bit more of a curator.
Well, I mean, even on food, he steps out for long periods of time.
Exactly. Yeah. Like well, just when Born Like This, Still Dope is it's his beat. Someone else is rapping over it. He has the same thing here with. Well, I think it's a couple of tracks.
And then there's the Boston Fielder track, right, where it's just like other people just kind of take the reins for a bit. Yeah.
Yeah, still caps in the signs, which I guess I can see the criticism being, well, you don't have Doom on there, and he's not producing or rapping. It's just JJ and another rapper, so it's just even really a JJDOOM track, and they're not necessarily rapping about necessarily anything that fits the theme. It's just sort of rapping. Although I do like the signs featuring Gone the Hero. I've no idea who the hell that is. But I do remember that being really good. But yeah, overall I thought this was actually really good. Maybe a little notch below Born Like This, I would say, for me.
Yeah, I agree.
But still, my opinion has improved on this over time. There's still some really good lines. Wash your hands, like you say, Caleb. It's more relevant than ever. But real quick, there's a line where he says, "You like the way she shake her back area? It's like a sex machine that make bacteria." That's
the funny thing about Wash Your Hands is that it's mostly about just going to the club and not touching unclean women. Like if you listen to it, like 75% of the lines are just about like not touching skanks. It's not but yeah, Doom's always been about hygiene though. Like don't eat Scrapple. Like Doom has always been hygienic. Like this is totally on brand for Doom. Like it's retroactively very, very relevant.
Yeah.
And the funny thing is that they chose the clubby trap beat for that, like on purpose completely. The clubby EDM trap beat for that.
Right. I hadn't even thought about that. The club beat makes it even more funny. Like
the hook where it's like, ooh, she got a cool body, but then like immediately the verse is like, yeah, she's got a cool body, but and she washed her hands as she cleaned it, like, yeah, you're at a strip club, but make sure they've actually like taken a shower and exercise your hygiene. Now that's real funny business. Mad Raw, filthy fingers sticking dirty money, and I was like, ugh. That's a really, it's like, especially for the way to end the album, it's a bit strange, but maybe because they probably thought it didn't fit the rest of the album, so just chuck it at the end. But still, nevertheless, excellent track.
Unlabeled bonus track almost, but it's like, it doesn't fit thematically, but it fits Doom thematically. Essentially, like this is who he is. Like this is the sort of sense of humor he has, and it also fits thematically in terms of what he's trying to do with these beats, where he's trying to do something different. And like Banished also fits too. Like the beat is the way it is because of what he's talking about. Like it's speeding up because they sped him off.
Yeah.
Filling up Banished for visa at the US in Spanish. It's a good album. It's a really good album actually, and I like even on rhyme and slang. I really love JJ's.
You don't. Yeah, I mean, I like the remix of rhyme.
I do prefer the remix. Yeah, the remix has much more of a punch to it, and I love the hook. Like the hook with the remix, hear the echo, the bang of the cockney rhyme and slang. Like it's really, really cool.
Yeah.
And I just love
there's a lot. That's the thing is the remixes seem more distinctive, I would say.
I
would say that Beck should do exclusively hip hop stuff because his rock shit boring as fuck for like 20 years.
Right. But there's a Beck remix of
his hip hop. Yeah, there's a Beck remix on here of what's his Beck? What's the remix he does?
It is Banished, isn't it?
Is it Banished? Yeah, but like it's good, and like generally, like Beck was even good on that Childish Gambino mixtape. He does like 2 beats on that. He's good on that too. Like, but he's so boring now, like with like rock stuff. Although, shout out to the Beck episode we're going to do that I'm threatening for just to make Caleb mad that I'm going to do with Ray Word.
I mean, that's going to happen in like 2 years. I don't really care about it right now. Like, that is not happening anytime soon. Nor I don't know where. I don't know
about how Midnight.
That's going to be our least viewed episode. I don't know where the audience for that.
No, nothing's going to be less viewed than our Roots episode. But
Oh, the Roots episode is better than some of the early season stuff.
Oh no, it's good, but no one listens to it.
No. I mean, in the views, it's got more views than some of the early stuff. I think.
Yeah.
The earliest, but you know.
Speaking of stuff that no one listens to, NehruvianDOOM.
Speaking of stuff that no one should listen to.
Okay, there is one really good song on here that makes me realize why he did this, and then the rest of it is like why he shouldn't have done this. So,
okay, I saw your rating.
Caskets is great. Caskets is great.
Okay, because I saw your rating on this. You went from like not live streaming, but just like telling us about how every single second sucks, and then you slapped it with a 3 out of 5. I was like, huh? What?
Yeah, the last 2 tracks are better. The last 3 tracks are actually really good. And Caskets is amazing. And I explained in our live chat that I saw what he saw in this, where it's like, I think Doom knew this guy and was like, oh, he can go. And they had one, like, he actually talked to him in person and was like, oh shit, this dude has charisma, he has skill, I'm gonna do an album with him. But then when he actually gave him the beats, it's like that your friend who can rap, either he choked when he was given all this pressure, or he's just not that good aside from 1 or 2 good moments.
Yeah, there is, I think, on the Call-Out Culture, one of the episodes, I can't remember where it was, I think it might have been a Cannibal Logs one, where they're talking about the whole rap notebook thing, where you got your notebook of rhymes that when you're young and up and coming before you've recorded albums, you're writing all your best rhymes on the notebook. You record your first album, you use the best of that, and then if you've been a bit lazy or slacking, like you've already sort of run out. So maybe it could have been the case here where he's a bit too young of an up-and-comer, and to have like amassed a decent notebook of rhymes. So it's sort of only about a couple tracks he used the best, and then especially the one where Doom is going to be on. So he brought his A game, but then the rest is just the scrapbook. I don't know.
It's very much just like a dude who can totally rap fine in a way that's not memorable for like 40 minutes.
It's such a bizarre choice, and especially it's such a left hook thing, which is a bit on brand with Doom, but it's also like I wonder what Tyler the Creator and Earl Sweatshirt and all those guys were thinking.
it's like everybody who's like trying to email Doom being like, yo, let me get one beat, and then he gives 10 to Nehru guy.
It's almost like an 80s movie where like the super handsome jock, instead of taking like the cheerleaders and whatever to dance.
No, this is Doom taking like the guy with like Coke bottle glasses to the dance.
Yeah, so in that way, it's genius, actually, isn't it? It's just the whole thing is just a what do you call performance?
I mean, it's the ultimate villain move, right?
Yeah, it is in a way.
Everybody.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, this album sucks. Listen to Caskets. Nothing else on it's good.
Yeah. I agree. Not a fan. Not a fan.
I listened to this once. It's super in one ear, out the other. It's honestly
definition of mid.
A lot of people were saying, "Oh, what a waste of Doom beats." I didn't think this was the Doom's best beats. I thought these beats just did the job, honestly.
Yeah, I also don't.
Some are good, some are bad. Like I think that Doom lost interest halfway through too, because the first half are better beats than the second half, and then Caskets is like amazing. Like I think Caskets was the song that got him interested in Nehru. Like that definitely feels like he did that song with him, and it's like, oh shit, I should do a project with this guy. And then he got disinterested halfway through. Like that's how I felt, because I think the first half has better beats than the second half. But really, you're right. Like these aren't like Doom's best work, even in the good half. Like it's pretty good, then it's. It's really, you need to hear one song off this. That's it. Like, and then the other 2 on the other half are fine, and then the rest of it, no one ever needs to hear. It's just a weird choice. I don't know why I did it.
I feel kind of sad for Bishop Nehru, because it's sort of like, his is kind of really young up and comer gets a chance to work with Doom, and it sort of ends up being his hex in a way. It ends up being like not a good move for his career, where you think this would be like the absolute best endorsement. But now,
right, swung on
it's sort
missed, man, swung on and missed.
Yeah, it's sort of bringing negative attention to yourself, which is it's a bit sad. Even like Doom has a line where on Caskets where he says, "Cheers, here's a lager, yours is O'Doul's." It's almost as if like yeah, I'm drinking the adult beverage, and here you can have this non-alcoholic beer. Yeah, these are untold rules of the old school. Oh, but man, he kills it. It's like the Wooler with a dude.
I guess you can drink that with Kenny Dennis. I guess you can go drink that with Kenny Dennis.
Yeah, yeah, oh yeah, O'Doul's with Jules. But yeah, then it says revenge. Yeah, it's like a Wooler with a dude to one's medulla oblongata, revenge montuma and a bladder.
I love how he said that, by the way.
It's just like, come on, like there's no way that like you're with a guy who says stuff like this. Like you better tap into.
That's the thing is like you have somebody who has such personality, and you're so bland.
Yeah,
it's like you're serving like the spiciest chicken curry with Olive Garden chicken Alfredo. Like no one wants this shit, man.
Exactly.
That's a heck of a sentence there.
That's the perfect way to put it. Yeah. Yeah, like the absolute best garnish on. Yeah. It's. And
right,
that's
speaking of boring shit, we have Czarface. And they just
okay. Go on.
So
I'll let you go first with your wrong opinion.
Speaking of changed opinions, my opinion of this improved in some ways and went down in others. Because when I heard this, I was just like, this was Doom not caring, and the beats weren't very good, and it was just kind of mid. And when I revisited this album, it was like, Doom cared a little more than I thought, and there was more Doom on it, and the beats were better than I expected. But goddamn, does Inspector Deck suck on this?
He what? Sorry, sucks?
Yeah, no. Deck is terrible on this album, dude.
Whoa.
Yeah,
okay.
no. Deck blows on this album. I'm sorry. Deck is trash on this album.
Whoa. Okay. All right. Okay.
Is this really going to be the fight we're going to have?
Hang on.
About Deck on a 2017 Czarface album?
Well, for one thing, I'm coming from a bit more of a fresher. Sorry, that's a bit of an insult to you. A bit more of a less experienced. So before this, I've only listened to the first Czarface, which I thought was decent, but I've only listened to
second one's better
a couple of times. Yeah, people say I haven't checked that out yet. And then when I heard Czarface meets Metalface, I was like, perfect. That's a match made in heaven. Then I heard it got like a really lukewarm reception. I was like, I don't want to hear lukewarm MF's Doom, so I'm going to pass on this. Until I heard this. Generally, I'll say that Doom is. You say Inspector Deck. Initially I thought Doom was a weak link. I still think that his rhymes, his lyrics, are pretty good. With being incredible in some spots and being really meh in other spots. But I think his delivery is like, I mean, then again, this was right. His son died a few years before this, which is really sad.
I'm not going to argue that every Doom delivery is good on this. There are one or two tracks where it's just like he wants to get in and get out. I agree. There are some tracks where it's just like, yeah, get me, pin me, pay me type shit, like whatever. But I think Deck has like two verses that are good. I think Deck, my problem with Deck on this is just like, I want to make a bunch of nerd punchlines and think they're super clever. Like there's one where he keeps rhyming about having like the Hida Khaleesi pets. Like what?
Yeah.
Shut the fuck up, dude.
Okay. So
like,
yeah, there's It's interesting. There's tons of references, but it's like Avengers and Game of Thrones. There's stuff where it's like
it's Comic-Con rap. I don't need to hear a fucking rapper. I don't need to hear a guy from Wu-Tang do Comic-Con shit. I'm sorry.
It's interesting. It's once again going a little bit back to Mass of the Mass, where it's very, very super current references, which are a bit hilariously outdated now. Talking about Game of Thrones and how that shit the bed in the last 3 seasons, in my opinion. But especially considering that. But I thought Inspector Deck was good. I thought Esoteric he killed MF Doom and Inspector Deck in their sleep. But I thought
I would think SO is the best on this. Actually, like SO is better than them by far. SO gave it like his all, and
which from what I
SO is the best.
From what I understand, generally, SO is doing a much better job than Inspector Deck in all Czarface releases. Maybe because he has something to prove or not. But I thought the real hero was 7L, or Zarkis, I guess. I'm not sure.
Well, if you look at my recent reviews, I revised. I originally shit on the instrumental version of this, and then I kind of revised it because I thought that I was really hard on that. And I think some tracks are a little weak, but I think overall 7L did a really good job on this. I think the Mike Eagle track, Phantoms, is awesome.
Incredible. Oh my God. That beat and the switch. And then the lyrics, which are like...
Mike Eagle's verse. I think Mike might have the best verse on the album, by the way. Mike's
possibly.
Verse is
Yeah, probably. Yeah, I wouldn't debate that.
Because I think that Mike actually does a really good job with like the whole, I'm going to take a dorky theme and flesh it out. Like...
Yeah, and not just like they're talking about sort of like kind of about spirits and ghosts, but also like alter egos and things like that. And I thought, I thought Inspector and Esoteric are a bit more shallow with it, but Doom and Open Mic are like they go like quite like left field with it, like in a really cool way. Like Doom is almost talking about like the devil and angel on his either side, and Open Mic is also like he's taking the Phantom themes a bit deeper and still has his like signature wittiness. Like I thought his verse was funny, but I thought the beats on this album, honestly, I thought like almost every single song killed it. Like it was really good. I thought these beats were fantastic. Like as far as like current boom bap goes, like this is how you revive boom bap. I thought these beats were way better than any of the rappers, honestly. I thought they were absolutely awesome. Like it's pretty much all the track. Metal with metal, badness of madness, forever people, don't spoil it, phantoms, astral traveling.
Astral traveling, I didn't really like. I thought that the beat switches on that were kind of forced.
Oh.
You weren't fucking with Vinny Paz.
Oh man,
I was just talking about the instrumental. Vinny Paz was fine. Like he refrained from insulting gay people on that. So good for Vinny Paz.
That was my point. Yeah,
I thought Esoteric consistently was the best.
SO was really good. I would say that I like what you said about like surface level stuff because I think Inspector Deck was incredibly surface level, where he's just like, I'm gonna watch Netflix and rap about what I saw on Netflix. Whereas, like,
very surface.
It was just super, just like pandering comic. Like I call it Comic-Con rap because it's just like people want to hear me say nerdy shit. Fine, this is what I think NF Doom listeners want to hear.
Well, not even NF Doom, but also like Czarface. I mean, they jacked their whole thing
who listened
from
to
Doom.
Wu-Tang in 2020 or whatever. Like he's just pandering. It's just like I don't know. Like Deck really annoyed me on this. I thought SO was really good. Like I thought he really rapped his ass off. Doom was mostly good. There were a few verses where he felt less invested than others, I would say.
Doom, like I said, his lyrics are decent, but his delivery is really sloppy. And I think, honestly, I don't think it was a great match. These guys together, like like 7L and Inspector Deck. Honestly, sometimes I had to look up who was rapping because their voices are like similar and their flows are like pretty much like the same.
I don't know if that's hardcore. I think that's probably more SO trying to sound like Deck than because I think Deck just sounds like he always does. I think SO is probably trying to emulate Deck.
Possibly, maybe they're trying to be on the same. The whole Czarface character is actually
correct. Like they're supposed to be like a Voltron type thing where they sound like each other. So It's kind of like Binary Star. They say like Binary Star is actually 2 stars, but they're so close that they look like one. Which I like the Binary Star, but I didn't think Never
Doom
heard
fit.
that about Binary Star. Holy shit!
Yeah, they say that on one of their albums, but I didn't think Doom
there's
fit.
only one good. There's more than one Binary Star album.
There's two, but the second one is like half of it is from their first demo or something like that. And they did really actually no. They released something recently. People thought it was a new thing, but once again it was just either remixes or demos or something. It was silly. But
I also thought there was the one Binary Star album, which is the classic, but
pretty much it.
Anyway. Yeah. So
but yeah, I think ESO and Inspect are very much like very rhythmic, very Wu-Tang, Army of the Pharaohs style punchline rap, but very rhythmic. It does not work with Doom. Like Doom, he's all about catching what he's saying, and he's very monotone sort of conversational delivery. And I think he tried to fit his flow in with the other guys, but it is like rhythmically, you're bobbing your head to like the braggadocious raps, but I don't think it worked. I think rather than being like bobbing your head to it, it was more like it was just awkwardly choppy, and it's almost like he wrote the lyrics how he would for his normal music, but then he awkwardly forced his cadence to try and fit the beat, but his lyrics aren't meant to fit these kind of beats, I think. So yeah, I thought he was consistently the weakest link. A lot of times I'd be listening to the tracks, waiting for the Doom verse, and be like, and then the track would finish. I'd be like, oh wait, I did listen to a Doom verse. It just did absolutely nothing for me.
There's a lot of like weird pauses and shit. All
yeah.
I would agree that it's like listening to our podcast. There are a lot of weird pauses that don't fit. It's weirdly badly constructed and produced. I don't know. It feels like they thought of the idea of putting Doom on it and then retroactively constructed the album.
Kinda, yeah. Or yeah, it's almost as pretty much. Yeah, it just I don't think it fit. But I still on second listen, Doom was a bit better than I remember.
It was better than I remember. I appreciated ESO more. I definitely appreciated the beats more as I revised my review. But it's inessential. It's definitely, aside from the Nehru album, the most inessential primary Doom album, I would say.
Honestly, I would put this.
I don't know where I'd put it versus Venomous Villain, because Venomous Villain does have like some great verses on it, but it's also like that's even more incongruous because that was literally shit he submitted and they put other beats over the shit he did. If you listen, so that's why that sounds the way it does. But this almost sounds the same way, and he gave them the verses then, so there's less of an excuse for this.
Right. Yeah. Because I don't know. I do think this is probably around key to the Kuffs, maybe a bit below that. But honestly, it's mainly the beats.
I think
I love these beats.
Way more I think he was way more invested in Key to the Kuffs because he was speaking.
Oh yeah,
from
Doom's perspective, there's no comparison.
And also, I think Key to the Kuffs musically has a lot more to offer than this. I kind of have to reach for reasons to listen to this versus Key to the Kuffs. I think I would listen to of my own volition.
Right. Well, I don't know. I think I'm also sort of a sucker for this sound, but I also thought it kind of reminded me of King Ghidorah, Take Me to Lead in a way. Some of the instrumentals and they feel like a.
Well, I think that's by design. It's trying to remind you of Doom music you like.
Well, I mean, Czarface has always been doing this, but then again, they've always been sort of very heavily and obviously inspired by Doom. But I felt like these ones they work successfully. And real quick, I inspected deck. You gotta love Don't Spoil It.
Okay, Don't Spoil It is cool, but it's so cute. It's so I don't know, man. I don't need it's such a gimmick. It's funny. It's funny.
Did you like when Ka did it?
Like when who?
Ka. I mean, it's pretty much the same thing. What Ka did
No,
off the
it's
record.
not.
What do you mean? It's the same thing.
Dude,
it's the
it's
exact
not
same
off the record. It's not off the record. It's no, it's not. Bullshit.
Yeah, it is. It is. Watch me drop a wild style and a crash groove. My hustle and flow, I'm sure to get paid in full.
I mean, they're all doing jizz on labels. First of all, they're all doing jizz on labels.
Yeah,
like they're all doing some variation on that. But
yeah, but I like. I mean, it's short for one thing.
I mean, no, it's cool. It's a minute and a half. It's the best deck verse on there. But it's just like I don't know. Like it just felt like that's. It's funny, but it's also just like. How's the only way he's going to focus himself is to do the most overtly nerd pandering thing possible? It's like about spoilers, about movies.
But it's about hip hop movies. I mean, these movies are
no. It was funny. It was clever. Don't get me wrong, but
yeah, but this is not Netflix rap though, like you said earlier. This is like he's not referencing Game of Thrones here. He's referencing movies that no one cares about unless they love hip hop.
That is true. That is true. Like he saves his Game of Thrones references for later when he's got like the fire of Khaleesi's pets.
Honestly, I think that one line is what rubbed you the wrong way and made you a hater.
Oh no, he had like a bunch of like he said he's woke like 6 cups of coffee.
Hey, that's all right. That's okay. I don't know. I on re-listen especially. I think this is really good. Everyone is not doing their best, but
you're welcome to your opinion.
Yeah, the beats definitely hold this up. Like the beats are the saving grace of this. I think the rappers ranged from serviceable to really good. Like I think Esoteric has a lot of really good punchlines.
Great. Like revisiting this, I gained real appreciation of Esoteric. He was really good on this.
Yeah, moving bodies like a human trafficker when I'm stomping too harder than an inmate on a conjugal. I don't know. I did like a lot of the punchlines did make me snicker.
I think it overall to me just sounds like a slightly above average boom bap record in 2018. Like, I'm not gonna shit on it like maybe Pat would, but I think it's like above average.
3.5 stars. I'm not really.
Never mind. We gave it half a star higher than I did. I think it's like fine. I think the first track is probably. It starts off well, not the skit, but the metal. Yeah, that one's really good. Like Pat talked about Phantoms, and that's another good one. Honestly, I don't remember the back half of this at all because I haven't listened to it since 2018, and it didn't really inspire me to listen to it. And I like Inspect the Deck, and I like the what is it that second Czarface record? Every hero needs the villain. Yeah, I like that record a lot, and I like Deck on it. So it wasn't for not giving it a shot. It just didn't really leave that much of an impression on me.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, you guys are in the majority when it comes to that, going by people's opinions. For me, it worked. Fair
enough.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah.
Not here to judge you to your face, but anyway.
Yeah,
yeah. When you're not looking, but so that was Doom's last recorded output, aside from some Lucy's, but what the legacy he's left seems to be remixes and mashups, and that's why I gave you guys so much fucking mashups for the homework, because I feel like starting with Madvillain, actually starting before that, he was remixing other people's work, and then it became other people remixing his work, and I kind of feel like that's part of the Doom legacy, and that's why I thought it was so relevant, because I feel like that's like he's a guy who left his work out there and then booked shows, get people to see him, and he didn't show up for them. And he's somebody whose presence looms so large that he doesn't even have to be there. But
it's so funny how someone as popular as him almost sort of does every step to like test people's patience and test people's attachment and love.
Disappear, reappear, disappear again.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. I was gonna say real quick. Do you want to touch on it now or later? Just the WestsideDOOM. That's probably the last.
Actually,
that's before Czarface.
Might be, and I didn't
just
actually.
A quick single.
Yeah, it was a quick single, and that also speaks to the variety of people he worked with later in his career. Like, he worked with Muggs on Dia del Asesinato, and yeah, he was working with people you would not expect. He worked with WestSide Gun, which also speaks to the collaborator of collaborators, fellow Makami expert WestSide Gun.
Yeah, which I think, correct me if I'm wrong, was this another one of a gonna be a project but nothing happened sort of thing, or what?
I don't know. I mean, with Gun, it's also hard to tell too, because Gun always was like doing shit. Like, he was always doing little projects. Like, Gun always was putting out EPs. So I don't know if there was ever anything greater to come of this.
Fair enough.
It's interesting. And do you guys see any of Doom in the way Gun rapped, or the shit Gun rapped over?
Not really. They're both fairly slow rapping in terms of the tempo. But no, WestSide Gun is very much a Wu-Tang Clan, like mid/later Wu-Tang Clan, and also probably like late 90s sort of hardcore East Coast stuff. I didn't really see Doom, but then again, I'm not very familiar with WestSide Gun or Griselda in general, to be honest. I've said this before, but they release so much stuff that I'm sort of intimidated and also sort of a bit reluctant to check out. I'm like, well, what is your best stuff? Just give me that. So yeah, I'm not super familiar, and I thought these two songs were decent, honestly. That's about it. I did like the fact that their styles are contrasting, but this is another problem I have with Griselda, is that I feel like because they release so much stuff, they're not necessarily, maybe just WestSide himself, he's not necessarily putting his best material in terms of, I didn't walk with any quotables, I didn't walk with any clever wordplay or punchlines or anything. It was just more just like trying to sound cool and just dropping references, name dropping references to like cars and fashion brands, special fashion brands and drugs, and that's it. Like, to me, the bar is Clips, like, as far as clever gangster rap. And to me, like, in a world where Clips exist, like, you have no excuse. Like, I don't know, just writing.
Well, you're not going to get push out of every rapper like this.
I know, it's a high standard. It's a high standard, but like, I listened to these songs when it came out. They didn't do anything for me, and then I re-listened to them a few times earlier today, and still, like, I didn't walk away with anything from WestSide. Like, honestly, it did almost nothing to me. He was just like, mildly cool gangster rap. I thought Doom did a way better take a gangster rap than West. So, like, I thought he kind of mopped the floor with him. Like, it's just, he just sounds like he sounds really relaxed, but just the stuff he's saying is so bad. So, like, he says, jumping to a conclusion could stunt your evolution like trees dumped into dust. Blunt fusion.
God damn, that's so good. Jumping to a conclusion could stunt your evolution. Right there. Jesus God.
And then, all cocktail of mind chemicals derail time. It's all good as long as it ain't hell and swine. And then, later on, some of the gangster stuff, like he says, splashed it, pulled a 9, reached, then he blasted, pow, 10 straps on a basket, New York style, wild, cheddar, grab, easy. It's on entertainment, though, we thought out completely. Like, he's doing what WestSide is supposed to be doing. Like, he's making references to guns, he's making references to New York, making references to drugs, making references to cars, and, Black Meme, IH, you gyrate, puffin' Pasadena, you read the grass was greener. Like, he's doing what these Griselda guys should be doing, but I don't feel like they.
Well, WestSide is the last lyrical guy you want with Doom. First of all, Benny and Conway way more lyrical than WestSide. True. WestSide's like pretty much the best ad-lib guy and the worst rap guy. He has good rap verses. He didn't bring his A game here. I'm gonna say that right now. But,
I agree.
Okay, I mean, I would say a better example of a thug rapper, for lack of a better term, doing this better over a more appropriate beat would be Death Wish on the Dia del Asesinato, Freddie Gibbs and Doom. I think would be that, like 38 Next to My Lunchables, Ninja Turtle Backpack. That shit right there. That is that's somebody who is stepping out of their comfort zone, but still spitting the same type of shit that they're like. That's like switching lanes and still being in Doom's lane type thing.
Yeah, and Gibbs is on a.
Whereas I think WestSide is just kind of doing his hype thing. Like he's essentially a hype man on these tracks.
Yeah, but the thing is, like,
which is like kind of my problem with WestSide is a lot of times he just realizes he can't rap as well, so he just does do boom.
Jesus, that is so annoying. Honestly,
it's really it gets endearing eventually.
I was gonna say I don't find it annoying. I also
I also don't think I kind of like it.
I don't think.
I don't think WestSide is that much lesser of a rapper than Conway and Benny. Also,
well,
I think
that's because we've heard enough of it that we know he can be. But like, I also heard a lot. Like, you read enough of my old reviews where I'm like, this guy sucks. Why is he making so many songs?
I do remember those reviews. I don't think he's. But that's the thing is, like, I don't think, like. To me, the three of them, even as I have approached fatigue lately, the three of them at their strongest for sure, all put words in, for lack of a better word, put words and rhymes together and songs together in a way that is really compelling. And
they put. I was slow clapping you with the put words and rhymes. And
that is the art form, right? That was
the most artful sentence I've ever heard in my life. Put words and rhymes and songs together. You just described rap music.
It's called songwriting. Yeah, it's called songwriting.
But no, like seriously though, like even like being charitable to WestSide, he's still the least of the three core Griselda members.
Yeah, especially like next to Doom. Like, come on. I guess I kind of get the appeal of Griselda, but still.
I don't think you're the.
Well, no, because stylistically, Doom doesn't fit with these guys.
Exactly.
But he did but with Gibbs though, I don't know if that's on Muggs or on Doom or on Gibbs, but that worked on that song. It doesn't work on WestsideDOOM so much.
I feel like Gibbs is much more of a happy middle ground between someone that's like heavy lyrical as Doom and someone is like cutthroat and gangster is like the Griselda Cats. So I feel like he's probably like he can probably switch between the two.
Yeah, I think Gibbs has made more inroads in terms of like bridging that gap. I think is a fair point. I don't think Gibbs has made like. But neither has Doom. Neither one of them have made like overtly conscious music, but they've both like kind of dabbled in it on occasion. Versus, I don't think anything WestSide Gunn has ever spit has conscious. That's not a bad thing at all. I just don't think
he's conscious about what color jacket he buys,
and how much he's making from this, from his music, from his other business ventures.
It's telling that like Conway and Benny have both made overtly conscious songs lately. WestSide doesn't even touch that.
Right. And I also don't really.
But he knows that's not his.
Yeah, I don't want him.
I appreciate him not trying to do something clumsy.
I agree.
But that's the thing. If you're not going to do that, then at least take the gangster route and do something creative with it. That's my whole thing with it. Like,
I think WestSide.
The fact that
Doom, you're not going to listen to the WestSide releases where he does though, like because there are. I can't say go listen to Hitler because I'm like I just yelled to you go listen to Hitler.
Fair enough. Yeah. Like I said, I'm a bit biased because I haven't really given them the time of day. I've listened to the odd project here and there, and I think some of the main ones from the camp.
But just house cleaning wise, just because this is topping out at 3 hours though, unexpected guests. Do we want to like touch on that real quick?
Real quick, I thought this was really good. Like as far as the compilation goes, I thought this was on par with some of the quote unquote second tier projects of MF Doom. Like, yeah, it's just a testament to this guy. Like how he has like a similar, fairly one style, but he can make it fit with all these other guests. And he, even when providing beats to other people, he can provide it fits for them. I thought there were some awesome cuts. Then again, a lot of them already came out. Like once again, this is probably the third time we're talking about Angels, and second time we're talking about All Out of Ale. But Yikes, incredible. Sorcerer's damn good. Super Friends I thought was good. Quite Buttery, really good.
Yeah, Quite Buttery.
All Out of Ale, excellent. Yeah,
I think Sorcerers is one of my favorite tracks. That beat is beautiful. It's a gorgeous
My
beat.
big problem with this is it leads off with a quality verse on what's supposed to be a Doom compilation. Okay. And that's more on the fact that the quality song leads off with a quality verse, whereas they should have probably switched their verses on the song. Not that it's a bad quality verse, more that I think that it would be stronger if Doom lit off that song.
Okay, and you know what?
I didn't like quality at all on that.
Okay, I've listened to the song several times since we talked about it last night because Sphinx yelled at me, and I think that it's probably better. It's not a terrible quality verse. Doom's better, but I think that it doesn't. In this context, it's better if Doom leads off.
Yeah, you're greeted with a Talib Kweli verse. First of all, I think it's more in terms of flow rather than what he's saying.
Dude, I don't hate quality.
Yeah, no, I get it. I get it.
Like a 3-hour fucking discussion about me hating Talib Kweli.
All good. All right, we'll move on. But real quick, the one thing I think is really criminal on this is Yikes, which is an incredible song. He only includes his verse, and he doesn't include the other guys from Science of Life, like ID4 Wins and Lil Side.
No, that was kind of weird that they didn't do that because some verses they include everyone's shit, and the other time they just include the Doom verse. That was a weird choice. Yeah. I agree.
So for you probably would have been happy if they did the same chopping treatment to fly that nod and
no, I would just I just said I wish they had flipped and put Quali second if they're going to do surgery on
a bit of editing.
Quali second because I like Quali's hook a lot. I don't mind his verse, but I think that if you're doing a Doom compilation of verses, you should start off with Doom.
Yep. Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, but yeah, I thought overall, Sean Price killed it too.
Oh yeah, cool.
But overall, I thought you can talk about it being consistent. It's a compilation, but also the fact that it's a mix of Doom beats and non-Doom beats with Doom rapping. I mean, it's as inconsistent as arguably something like Born Like This or maybe Key to the Kuffs in a way. But so I think it sort of sits comfortably with those ones as far as my opinion goes and how much I enjoy it. Like this, it's a compilation of things that aren't on main albums, and even his scraps are incredible, honestly. Man, I just love Yikes so much. It's just excellent. But for the sake of time, we could probably move on to the next. I just urge people to check that out.
Sure you get everything right, man. But anyway, we're going to talk about real quick. I mentioned how it was we started out with Doom remixing people's stuff, and then eventually the culture became people remixing Doom's material. And there was one remix that really stood out to me was Def versus Doom. And I don't know if both of you listened to that. I think that was really good. That was floating around in the mid-2010s. But then eventually, as Doom stopped giving us so much material, more people started working with Doom's material. And I think that's going to be the legacy because we started with the Madvillain remixes, which were officially sanctioned. We had Fortet, we had Koshik, then we had Madlib. And I think that now that Doom is no longer with us, that's all we have left. So we're going to have more and more remixes of Doom material. So that's why I think something like the Altered Crates material is so relevant. And SADEVILLAIN.
I think it's SADEVILLAIN. Yeah.
SADEVILLAIN. Yeah, I think this stuff is way more relevant because it's that's where I think the measure is. I think I mentioned this in my Triple X review too, is where it's the same thing as Madvillain, where it's this is the measure of how it affected the culture, is where people want to get back to it and make their own interpretations. And
I think the Altered Crate stuff, at the very least, Flowervillain 2, MF Bloom is really, really, really good. Like, I've listened to that a lot, and I know it's a fan-made job, and it's no longer on Bandcamp. It's kind of hard to find. You have to get on SoulSeek to find it, but I think that is like a marriage of stuff that I never thought would work together. Like, first of all, I didn't even know there were Flower Boy instrumentals, and I think he might have remade them himself, actually, because they sound like he was going from the original sample material or possibly just like recreating them with live instruments. Yeah. And he's also, the other thing about it is, like, you always had people like the Clutchy Hopkins tape that we didn't talk about. That's like, those were always, people were going off the same 5 or 6 Doom acapellas. This guy was going off of like obscure, like he was going off the JJDOOM stuff. He was going off like second album Victor Vaughn. He was like taking
Czarface too.
Doom, Czarface, yeah, he went off Crunch Bunch. He was like taking like old, like obscure Doom verses and marrying them to new stuff. And I think that's where the value is, like taking the Doom verses people haven't heard and getting them out there with new music.
Yep. It's interesting. I even picked up this like sort of like soul remixes of the Tyler the Creator song She, and also Kanye's Bound, and also Raid, Madvillainy.
Mm-hmm.
You're gonna hate me for this. I really don't like mashup projects. I'm not a fan.
I don't hate a lot. I hate a lot of them, but I think I like them when they're done well. I think this one is done very well.
Yeah, I thought MF Bloom and Flowervillain was probably the worst of the bunch. I'm so sorry. I hated that so much.
Okay, well,
I'm so sorry.
You can leave the call. You can leave the chat.
Yeah. I was gonna say we're gonna take it back. See, I have most of the same stuff to say with a lot of these mashup ones. Is that I think at best they're cool, like ways of different takes on some of the same stuff, and at worst they're kind of gimmicky and just make you want to listen to the originals. And unfortunately that's where I stand for most of them. I thought the Clutchy Hopkins one was a cut above the rest. I really liked that one. Clutchy Hopkins, like, I don't know anything else about this guy, but
no one
I feel like those instrumentals really, really nice, sort of jazzy, down tempo, and like with quite a bit of progression in the instrumentals. I thought those fit him really well. With these other mashups, like, I don't know, I'm super nitpicky, but stuff like the audio quality and some tracks you can tell that he couldn't get the acapella, so you can still hear some of the original beat in the background, and just the other thing.
You have to understand, these were fan made though, right? Like, these were not professional.
Yeah,
like, that was part of the understanding with these.
I get that.
And Clutchy, I'm pretty sure Clutchy's an industry guy, so like that was actually like professionally made. So
yeah, there's some people that think he's I forgot who they think
from
he
the
is,
Beastie Boys. They think he's Adam from the Beastie Boys.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
okay.
They think Ad Rock.
Right. Okay. Yeah, because some people are throwing out Madlib or DJ Shadow, Cut Chemist.
Everybody thinks everyone's Madlib, so that doesn't count.
Yeah.
That's true. That's true.
Yeah, and I don't think MF Doom fits that well over jazzy instrumentals. I think, especially considering like the stuff that he says, like some of the instrumentals in Metafocal Villain and MF Doom, that they're like really soulful and really, sort of heartfelt. But then, like, it's still MF Doom talking about, the beat is sicker than the blood in your stool. The way he repeats get tricky like a stuttering fool. And then his,
King Jules.
Yeah, and then it's talking about, it's a return of the tramp. We'll do a duet jam with Ernest, goes to camp for the right earn. I mean, so it's still the same comedic villainous MF Doom, but then the beats are trying to, they're much more evocative and much more heartfelt. I don't know. I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm going to take a back seat because I'll let you take the reins because I don't really have much else to say. It's just a personal thing for me when it comes to mashups and remixes. I'm incredibly biased and unfair. But yeah, go on.
I mean, I remember thinking that the SADEVILLAIN stuff was cool. I haven't listened to it in years, but I remember thinking it was a cool pairing. Probably not as good later now in practice, but I do remember thinking that that they were pretty solid, pretty decent projects for fan-made stuff. I kind of agree with you, Sphinx, on that, but there are some mashups that are pretty cool. I would prefer like DJ mixes if I was gonna be listening to that sort of stuff.
Yeah, I was gonna actually say that in terms of mashups, because I was looking, I was like, do I like any mashups? I do like, exactly, when it's a bit more experimental, for like a better word, or where it is like, it is like a compilation, like Girl Talk or like Shit Computer. I forgot what they call this album, where it's mixing a whole bunch of different rap verses with people and mixing them with different other music, and also like adding like extra stuttering and glitches and funny and quirky things here and there, where it makes it a bit more enjoyable. Whereas stuff like this, it's probably cooler also if you're more familiar with the source material. Where with a lot of these, I've listened to the new Jabbies or new Jabbies, whatever stuff, quite a bit. Flower Boy I've listened to only once. Sade I've never listened to, honestly. So that might be a part of it. Maybe my lack of familiarity with some of the original stuff might be why I don't like it. But then again, my extreme familiarity with the MF-Doom verses is what kind of makes me wish.
Brought you into the first place.
Well, kind of makes me wish I was listening to the, like when I listen to one of these tracks and I hear an MF-Doom verse that I'm familiar with, I'm like, I almost kind of tune out the mashup.
The other components of the track,
right. That's distracting to you to hear the other elements.
Yeah. Because that might be it. Because I'm so familiar with the original beat that as soon as I hear the opening verse, I'm already have the beat playing in my background, and it kind of distracts me from trying to enjoy like the new mashup beat that's on top of it. So that could be what it is. But I do really like what you were saying, Pat, that the legacy, because it is something that he did himself. And he was thoroughly engaged in, which is, remixing tracks and getting on other people and put them on his beat, or putting himself on other people's beats and stuff like that. Like, it's a practice that he was doing during his time and during his heyday. So I really like what you said there, where it is sort of legacy has left, and the fact that he has such a dedicated fan base that are so passionate enough to do stuff like this. I still do think that's really cool, even if I don't necessarily enjoy it. I think that's incredibly commendable, and a testament to how much an impact this guy has.
Yeah, I think that's my last question was going to be, where do you see Doom in your personal pantheon? But you kind of answered that when you came on the show. He's your personal. Where do you see him?
I'd probably have him. It's tough. It's tough overall because he's made a lot of. I mean, Madvillainy is I don't do like rankings off the top of my head, but in like my top 20 safely, I would say all time. It's a very personally significant album. I wouldn't have listened to like any underground hip hop without hearing it. So, I don't know about any, but a lot of underground hip hop without hearing it. I think he's probably in, the top 15, 20 artists for me. 15 artists for me, I'd say. It depends. It's once you get that high up, to me, you're all kind of splitting hairs. But he's an incredible artist. I have listened to only a few Doom projects, like a myriad of times, in the sense where I really, with him, I just go back to like my favorites of his, which I guess most people would. But so I don't have as much to say about his discography in totality. And I do wish that some of his later period work left a little more of an impression on me. But I don't think he's ever released anything under his name that was anywhere close to bad, besides the Nehru project, which I don't like at all. But outside of that, I think he's remarkably consistent. Even the stuff that I don't love, I still admire and think is good work. And he's someone that the genre would be fundamentally different without, and there's no other way to say that. So Yeah, I think he definitely ranks very highly for me, toward the top of my favorites. But despite all that, I don't think he's someone that I would listen to like most of his discography all the time. I think it's a pretty unique case when it comes to like artists that I'm a huge fan of. With him, I'm more Madvillainy, Ghidra, Doomsday, the Victor Vaughn, the first one. Those are the ones that I've played more than the rest of his discog. But Mouse and the Mask is excellent, going back to my initial point to start the episode. Mouse and the Mask is by far my favorite of his later stuff. I really fuck with that album.
It's a good fucking album. I don't blame you.
It is, yeah.
Sphinx, always great to have you on, even if you have very suspect tastes in certain pockets of hip hop. We will always welcome you on the show. And we are living off borrowed time. And we hope you'll join us next time. Peace out.
Living off borrowed time, the clock tick faster. That'll be the hour they knock the slick blaster. Dick Dastardly and Muttley with sick laughter. A gunfight and they come to cut the mix master. ICE Cole, nice to be old. Y2G Steve twice to threefold. He sold scrolls, low and behold. Know who's the illest ever, like the greatest story told. Keep your glory gold and glitter. For half of his niggas to take him out the picture. The other half is rich and it don't mean shit to villain. A mixture between both with a twist of liquor. Chase it with more beer. Taste it like truth for dear. When he at the mic, it's like the place get like, oh yeah. It's like they know what's about to happen. Just keep your eye out like I capping. Is he still a fly guy clapping if nobody ain't hear it? And can they testify from in the spirit? And living the true gods, giving y'all nothing but the lick like two broads. Got more lyrics than the church got ooh lords. And they hold the mic in your attention like two swords. Either that, or either one with two blades on it. Hey you, don't touch the mic like it's AIDS on it. Yeah, it's like the end to the means. Fuck type of message that sends to the fiends. That's why he bring his own needles and get more cheese than Doritos, Cheetos, or Fritos. Slip like Freudian, your first and last step to playing yourself like accordion. When he at the mic, you don't go next. Leaving pussycats like why hoes need Kotex. Exercise index won't need Bowflex and won't take the one with no skinny legs like Joe Tex.